Hello, future people on the VODs.
Um, Audacity is up.
Get to see some real shoulder and neckline action here.
Let's see. Okay. Let me make sure I have 8 books here. I need to
Oh my God.
just make sure that covers. Excuse me. All of. All right. So Destiny 6 and 7. X Red. Yeah. Wolverine. Yeah. X Force. No. Where's X Force? Where's X Force? Steven.
Yes, you're right. I'm responsible for this.
New Mutants, Marauders, X Men. Okay, I have those. Okay, and then Hellfire Gala, Giant Shit, Immortals, New Mutants is in my hand. Knights,
Dreamy_edits.
Knights is here, and Legion of X is not. Okay, so so X Force and Legion. Um, I guess. Give me a second.
Okay.
No. 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 Wait. Ooh, X Force. Excellent. Uh, Legion. That was the last thing I.
Yeah, my phone, the TV control, I can't find anything.
The fact. Found it.
Hey.
Okay. This is why. Fucking what? 10 books. 10 books for one pod.
Good God, dude. That's logistics right there. That's dedication.
That's something. Anyway, um, I think, I
Silver
think,
Dreamer.
I think I'm good. I think I'm good. I'm gonna start recording on Audacity.
Okay. I will do the same. Testing levels. Check, check, check. Looks
Oh yeah,
good.
levels. Yeah, okay, looks good.
Yeah. Okay, looks good. Um, I am very happy that well, I'll save it for the latter half of the cold open. I'll start recording here.
Recording in progress.
There's a fan theory that Frodo doesn't know Legolas's name, and I'm completely here for it. There's like, other than all 12 hours of the movie as evidence, because they don't talk. The number of words
It's
exchanged between the two of them is 3.
it's amazing how they set out with this fellowship and they're like, "Hey, we got a fellowship. We're going to do this thing." And then like immediately they're like all go their separate ways and they split the party into like 6.
It gets split, um not entirely through their own machinations, but
Right.
yeah, they do get split up. But like the 3 words that are exchanged are "and my bow," which is the first like 40 minutes of the first movie.
That's
And
amazing.
then on top of that, the cherry on top of all that is at the end when Frodo like wakes up from his like coma or whatever, and he sees everyone and does this slow mo, and Frodo's like mouthing everybody's names. And it's
Uh-huh.
just like Gandalf, Gimli, and then Legolas walks
This
in.
guy.
Well, Legolas walks in and Frodo just looks at him and smiles. Like it cuts to Frodo to say his name, but he doesn't. Then it just continues on with the rest
He
of
has no fucking clue
the
who you
closing.
are, dude. It's like I vaguely recognize
It's
you.
underscore
We hung
edit
out
He
for
underscore
like a
underscore
week.
Greek.
he killed so many orcs in his name and a giant elephant thing. Anyway, that that was a random shower thought that pops into my head. Well, the
Sure.
knowledge of that fan theory, like literally like every other week. I'm just like, man, because like there are just some things you take for granted, like
Sure.
people's knowledge of other people's existences,
Like, the
names,
fellowship being an
jobs,
actual fellowship of, some sort of continuity among its
brothers,
members. And yeah, yeah.
brothers
Warm
in
feelings,
arms.
or at least base familiarity.
And yet, anyway, I think it's entertaining and worth spreading the word of.
Absolutely. We're in for a treat today recording because we don't have I don't have to deal with fire alarm noises that were going off from either another unit in my building or the next building over from across the courtyard that went all night,
Oh my
that
god.
had been going on. I went to go cube draft yesterday. When I got back around 7:30, the fire alarm was going off. It kept going until about 11:15 today, this
Oh
morning.
my gosh. Okay. You were gonna say PM.
No,
Oh no.
it was it was terrible. Somehow I slept through it. I'm not I'm not good at falling asleep, so it's a real miracle that made it to bed. But if I'm a little frayed and frazzled today, I'm gonna blame it on that.
Checks out. I'm here for it.
But at least our leaders don't have to hear it in the background of the recording. I was legitimately worried that I was gonna have to find a different place to record or something, or else we'd just get beep beep beep.
Dude, can you imagine, dude, the anger from Nips?
He would never fucking forgive us.
So, there's this really loud beep in the background of one of your tracks.
Uh-huh.
Is that did you guys know that was there? Yes. Yes, we did.
And you subjected it to me anyway.
All 2.5 hours of it. Thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Uh-huh. And then just a big sigh. I'll do what I can.
I know. He always ends it with that. Just, I'll see what I can do. And you're like, thanks.
The brave soldier.
Oh man. So, what are we
Should we
doing
get
here,
started?
man?
Yeah, this is a
Yeah. What is
podcast called
this?
Hype is My Superpower, and it's where we talk about the things we're hyped on comic books. You know the drill. I'm Steve Storm and best buddy Will Freeland. You are holding up a stack of 10 books.
10 books. I did not read 10
We
books. That would be like 60 issues.
That would be insane. But you read pieces of all 10 books because we're still doing Destiny of X that
French
has
Destiny
not
of
been
X.
compiled into actual trade paperbacks in America. And so we're using our best guess on what to fill in before we start AXE Judgment Day. Good news is that that's next week, and we are done with this mad dash scramble. Um,
So ordering officially shot us in the foot this week
Yes, it did
for the first time.
for the first time.
I mean,
We'll get into it, but yeah. So we
it
have
took 7
Destiny
volumes.
of
It's not bad.
quote unquote Destiny of X 6 and 7 as told to us by what the French collections are via Wikipedia. This is the dedication that we go to for you, the listener.
Right?
Um,
Screw Dimitri saying just read these 8 issues. We're gonna read every fucking issue.
I mean, yeah. Uh,
Man, dude, I just looked at my X shelf right before pod, and
yeah,
it looks so cool.
yeah.
Just like I have an amount of pride, because like all of the TPs are the same size, and since they all are like Reign of X, Dawn of X, all of the
Right.
titles are the same length,
Mm-hmm.
and and then all of the events are like bigger size books, and so like it's just this cool, just like
Nice visual effect on
organization.
yourself.
Yeah, and like with the
Excellent.
exception of Inferno, each group of X is bookended by a larger book. And
Mm.
it just makes this like easy separation of titles, and they all have X in them except for Inferno. And
You could very
it looks
easily
so cool.
put Inferno right before X Lives, X Deaths,
Yeah,
and then
with the
you'd get
exception
the
of like a few references in like
right.
Trials like 10, 11.
Yeah, there are some minor references, but no like real plot
Yeah,
that
yeah.
get picked up.
But then you
Anyway,
have 2 oversized books right next to each other. It's not the same,
okay,
man.
that's even worse. I get it. Okay.
And then Hellfire Gale is all small. Stupid. Like, dude, we'll get there, but like, I feel like they kind of phoned it in for Hellfire Gala too.
Wow. Yeah, I would say so. Uh, it's
Organization, impact, all of that.
it's yeah. So spoilers, not really spoilers. We're covering the second Hellfire Gala in this pod. They said that they were making this an annual event, annual for real time, not for
Yeah,
comics publishing. Because
but
if
now
it's
comic books time has gone. Like, you're not
yeah, they're
gonna
all like, "Oh, this happened last year," and it's you know what,
right. The
whatever,
Met Gala doesn't
whatever.
happen multiple times a year.
You know, it's both things can be true. I'm gonna let them have their cake and eat it too. It's been 1 year
Fine.
since the last Hellfire Gala. It's been 10 years since they started the school in 1963. In uh, and you know, 20 years from now, they're gonna be like, remember the start of Krakoa a couple months ago? Like all of these things can be true for me. I don't demand
Ah,
uh any of these things to make actual sense. It serves the continuity serves the story, not vice versa.
okay. I mean, just because you're right.
But it is fun to poke fun at.
Ugh. Yeah. But like at the same time, like the audacity that it takes to want to hold 80 plus years of comic book history into the same continuity and expect it to work is audacious. Anyway,
Anyway,
so we did Destiny 6 and 7. Destiny
that's right.
6 comprises of X-Men Red number 4, Wolverine 23, X-Force 29, New Mutants 27, Marauders number 4, and X-Men number 12.
Sure does.
Great placement of X-12 because
Terrible placement of red. Well,
of Red 4. Yeah.
yeah.
Cuz X-12 is the first time we actually hear about the gala coming up. And then the next issue that we read is the gala. But
Hey.
there's three storylines happening in X-Men, and actions in that end up getting referenced in X-Men Red 4, which we read
Hmm.
first.
Yeah, it's fine.
It Yeah, it's fine. It is fine. It's not that big a deal. It's just it's just the the story writers being like, "Hey, this is when this is happening."
Right. And
Like,
it's more, this is more a fault of this slipshod French collection,
right.
dictating our read order. Like, if we had a better read order, we would have not complained at all.
Right.
Um
Like, if as we've pointed out, like none of these volumes have two issues of one title,
right.
which we haven't seen since Dawn of X6,
Yeah.
when four titles ended, so that others may take its place. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
this is just not, this is not the same level of care in
Hmm.
curation that we've grown accustomed to from the American collections.
Yeah.
But shall
Anywho,
we get started on Red 4?
yeah. Yeah. God, X-Men Red. Fun title.
It's fantastic. And so this is kind of bookended, or started off with uh some real two big things that were kind of shocks based on unresolved plot lines going into this that are treated as like, oh, this is now like resolved, right? Like, we've jumped forward a little bit in a couple plot lines in a way that we will kind of reveal or see these things actually happening in later issues in this collection. But so the big two things are that knowledge of mutant resurrection is public now.
Hmm.
The Ben Urich story got released, and that Xandra, Empress of the Shi'ar, and Charles Xavier's telepathic daughter, is dead, which was left as kind of an end of issue cliffhanger. Like, she was,
Yeah, and
you know,
Marauders in the last
in
Marauders issue.
Marauders. Yeah, and it was like, she gets shot, and then everyone's like, oh, and it
Right.
doesn't like
It's like
show
a
the body.
it's like a lightning bolt through her torso, but
Yeah,
we've
and
seen worse.
that could mean fucking anything in comics.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, so she dead. And the kind of uh one sentence summary of this book before we get into details is um it's kind of dealing with the philosophical questions about having an immortal ruler um
Mm.
of a people, going on both on Araco and within the Shi'ar Empire and Shi'ar diplomatic space. Um,
Yep.
yeah. So, so there, it opens on like a meeting of this galactic council of Shi'ar allies, and it's Oracle representing the Imperial Guard, and then and she's giving a debrief of uh, a state secret which hasn't even hit the broader Shi'ar Empire yet. Uh, and meeting her there is Storm as regent of Soul, the Soul system.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, let's see, T'Challa, representing the um, intergalactic Wakandan Empire. There is Richard Rider Nova. Um, oh, I'm sorry, we didn't open on this. We opened on something. That's fine. um, there is Hulkling, representing the Kree Skrull Empire. Kree Supreme Intelligence couldn't make it. Laktuka, the knower of from the Araco Great Ring, didn't even bother to show up. And then there is this weird the Galactic
Lucky
Rim
3_81.
character who appeared in the first issue of X-Men Red, Orbis Stellaris, who's just a big orb,
Like just a ball
just a ball
with a person inside.
with the person inside. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had an observation about the
Okay.
members of this diplomatic treaty.
Yeah.
So 8 of them are listed. 2 didn't
Yes.
show up, so I leave 6.
Yes. Yeah.
5 of the 6 are from
Huh.
Earth.
I had the same thought. Yes. Well, I guess
Like-
Teddy from
He was
not
born
from
on Earth.
He was
Yeah.
born on Earth. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was raised as just like a shape-shifting earthling
Yeah.
until he found out what his true parentage was.
Jesus.
Yeah. They're all from Earth.
This is
Poor
all-
Oracle.
This is a little, Terra-centric, but
Oracle
it's fine.
showing up with news of a baby born of someone from Earth.
Right? It's like, I guess this is everyone's business to all you fucking Earthlings. God damn it.
So
but
ridiculous.
we're the seat of the empire here, even though she's also half, human slash.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's fine. And she tells everybody that Oracle tells everybody that Empress Xandra is dead, and T'Challa, having just read the Daily Bugle, is like, "Well, you gonna bring her back or what?" To Storm,
Right? It's like she's born of a mutant. She has mutant
Yeah.
powers.
Yeah,
Are you just gonna bring her back? And that which raises the question of like, do you bring back? How do you treat an emperor or empress that cannot die?
right.
Well,
And-
technically
and-
can die, but can always be brought back. I feel like there's a real there's a real distinction between continual rebirth and actual immortality.
Kind of, but as we'll get into on the other half of this plot, Magneto has a strong case on the other side. So in the Shi'ar half of this plot, where they're arguing basically the same thing, the idea is like, well, news of her assassination is going to, it's going to destabilize the empire. There could be like intergalactic nuclear warfare. Trillions of people could die. Like, if she's being brought back, then this can avert a war that would be very deadly and costly to everybody. And so practically it's probably a good idea. And the one objection comes from Orbis Stellaris, who says, no, like, you're basically installing an immortal dictator for life on an intergalactic throne. Like, this might lead to problems in the short term, but they will be smaller problems than the ones coming in the long term. And they're set to make a decision on it, and Storm's like, yeah, it's already done. Like,
About that.
not that I know for sure, but you guys remember who her dad is. The way that Oracle knows about Xandra's death is a telepathic, cry across the cosmos or whatever. That was intended for Xavier. Obviously, he caught it, and without knowing for certain, we can tell you for sure. She's already been resurrected. This shit isn't just happening, it happened. And then she walks away with the line of basically, mutant kind does not deserve your permission to live or thrive. Understand that, and perhaps our miracles will surprise you less. Good day.
Okay, bye. Dude, Storm
Okay, thanks, bye.
Storm refuses to not be the biggest presence in a room.
Right?
It's wild.
She's incredible. So great in this title and in Krakoa era in general. Um, the other um just sort of like little detail from this, there's really three plots going on in this issue. The only other detail I have from this plot is that Nova is coming to visit on Earth because he has a feeling that shit is about to go down.
Hmm.
And he's
Hmm.
representing the Guardians of the Galaxy these days, so who knows what this whole thing means. Um, so the second plot is Magneto, who has just won his seat on the Great Ring of Araco and
By absolutely
is
curb stomping Tarn.
incredible. And kind of arguing in his first meeting, and now that it's both him and Storm there, the question is raised, like, what are we going to do about immortal rulers? And given Iraqi society and all the things about that they have about honor and eternal combat, blah 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 blah. This inability to die is seen as kind of the type of weakness that that Araco won't stand for. And basically, both as a gesture of good faith towards Iraq, fitting into Iraqi culture, but also just who he is as a person and where he's coming from in this stage in his life. Um, Magneto says no, and that I fear immortality, and specifically who I would become from immortality more than I fear death. And he has a little ball with his um, backups and Storm's backups in it, and he crushes them.
Yeah, and he's basically he's like, if we're gonna defend Araco, we have to be of Araco, and
Yes.
we we accept the Iraqi ways and thought process, and if we were to die, especially in contention of one of our seats, we will stay dead.
Yeah.
But also, Magneto and Storm are two of the hardest people to kill, so it's fine.
I mean, he's died several times. She has not died once.
Two of the hardest people to keep dead.
And God, he's just monologuing a ton throughout this whole thing. Classic
Yeah.
Magneto monologue.
Magneto monologues are always so fun.
Yeah. This set of lines here, like, as Aurora said, to everything a season. I find myself in autumn, and I fear winter. I've seen what comes in what comes in with the cold of centuries. What can hide through life after life, even from yourself. What would I become with endless time? I fear it. I fear it, Iska. I fear it. I do not fear a life that ends. What a badass statement.
Yeah, dude. So while I was reading his monologues, I was thinking, part of me was thinking that it would have been better delivered in his black outfit instead of
Yeah.
his Brotherhood outfit. But whatever, it's not a big deal. There's one thing that he says that stood out to me conceptually, because he said that Forge is their Omega Technopath.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. I never considered Forge an Omega mutant.
I can see that him being the highest level. I mean, he's not really
If
a
he
technopath.
thinks
He's
it,
an,
he can make it.
yeah,
Like,
he's
I
an
get it.
intuitive. He's an intuitive inventor.
Right.
So anything that can be conceptualized, he can engineer. Basically, he's the greatest engineer. He's an Omega level engineer.
Yeah, yeah, because I mean, the whole definition of Omega is that the limits of which are either incalculable or have not been found, and
Right.
the limits of one's conceptual imagination does not exist. So like I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But I guess I also appreciate labeling him as an omega because his is a mental power
Mm.
and not
Hmm.
like an offensive force of nature.
Totally. Yeah.
So like I like that. It's cool. It just I feel like this is the first time even
He wasn't on your list of Omegas in House of X or whatever
right.
when they're
Like
yeah,
this
yeah,
is
yeah.
this is the who wrote this? Ewing. This is Ewing being like, okay, Hickman's
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah.
I have thoughts.
Right.
Let me just throw this in here. We can pick it up later if you want, or just leave it as a
Right.
side comment. But there's no reason by Hickman's definitions that Forge cannot be an Omega level mutant.
Right.
And that's
Um
fine. I'm fine with it.
yeah. And I really do want to give Ewing their kudos here because this is a really like the bookends on this just having this issue built around these two plots of uh that center around the same philosophical question but answer it in two different ways in two different contexts. Like it makes for a really good thing. And then there's a third plot
Hmm.
in the issue which is kind of like a breather for the whole thing, but it also deals with the same philosophical question of immortality and what becomes of you. It's less from the leadership perspective and more from just like an actual person and their experience. So Sunspot gets resurrected in Arbor Magna, and before Xavier returns his back up to his brain, he's just a mindless body and he's crawling around, and he finds Rockslide and they have a connection. And so he meets up with him later on the beach and they're hanging out, and they have a really sweet set of uh, conversations. He doesn't answer to Rockslide. He doesn't really identify with the name Rockslide anymore. He doesn't identify with the name Santo anymore because he's a collection of all possible versions of Rockslide of Santo because he died in another world and the resurrection process gets screwed up by the nexus of all realities, blah 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 blah. And so um he's this kind of simple, melancholy, but full of childish wonder character. And everyone calls him Wrong Slide now. And he's talking about, like, whenever I don't like that my presence makes people sad because they see the person that they remember and I'm not him, and it only reminds them of the pain of the person that they miss. And I would like to have the opportunity to um die again on Otherworld and come back completely different again and have experienced the beauty of the world. He's standing on this beautiful, like, idyllic beach watching a sunset. And he's like, have somebody else experience the beauty of this world with fresh eyes again. How incredible would that be? And Sunspot is, they're hanging out and he's like vibing with this. And he's like, hey, why don't you go with me to Araco? And so I think we're gonna have Wrong Slide join Storm's Brotherhood, and that
Yeah.
would be really sick.
That would be really sick. Cause
He's just been hanging around. Like he has
yeah.
they really haven't followed up with him um since X of Swords.
Yeah. And I really liked Rockslide
Me too.
from
Yeah.
back in the day.
He's
Like
one of
he
their better characters that they've created in the last
yeah.
30 years.
Like he's one of the only mutants that like actively had fun with their powers
Yes,
and
totally.
like wanted to explore what they could do and all this other like
Right.
I always think about in Fear itself, in the X-Men side story, when when Gambit just charges him up to go and
Yeah,
explode to try to stop Juggernaut. And
yeah.
as he's running towards Juggernaut, he's just like, "This is so cool," and then explodes. Like it's just it's so awesome. Oh man, I miss Sento. So yeah, that was. I'm really excited to conceptually get more Rock Slide Sento,
Yeah.
all Santos
Wrong
Rock
slide.
Slide
Yeah,
in something.
absolutely.
Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. Okay. Well, now that we spent half
Next
an hour
issue.
on that,
Oh no,
the first
seriously?
issue.
Oh my god.
Well, okay. X Men Red, I think, is one of the bigger talking points of Destiny of X.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
Wolverine, we're gonna cover in like 2 minutes. So,
Yeah.
so Wolverine 23. Was it the resolution of it? I feel like no, it's not the resolution.
Yeah.
Well, it goes.
Yeah, it is.
24 is Judgment is AXE, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's the resolution of this non big deal side story of
Mhm.
Deadpool hanging out with Wolverine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so to your point, one, they quickly address. Wait a second, we're using the same place for two different storylines. The
With the
Seedry,
Sidri and
yeah,
Danger
the Seedry got
at the
permission
X
to
Mansion.
harvest to like nest at Westchester, but then they're like, no, we want to put Danger there. Okay, well, Danger made it really hot and uncomfortable for the Seedry, and they left.
Yeah, it got a it got a break the fourth wall Deadpool explanation, which is uh maybe better than it's certainly better than no explanation. It's maybe better than like a storyline or
It's better
like
than no
in
explanation,
comics.
and it was completely unnecessary to be seen.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah, exactly. Don't
two
waste time on
sentences,
it.
boom, moving
Deadpool
on.
said it happened. He knows what's going on. He has meta awareness. Um, yeah, that was hilarious. He also kind of has his moment of vulnerability here. I think this is a key part of Deadpool's characterization is that he is the clown, but he's also the sad clown. And
Hmm.
he does have moments of self-awareness where he's like, no, I really am like trying to work on myself and get better. I see all these amazing things that you're doing on on Krakoa, and it's not just that I'm like a silly dude who wants friends. Like I want to be part of this place where people are like getting better, becoming better versions of themselves. And so yeah.
Yeah,
Um
and he wants to get the Krakoan medicines for Blind Owl.
right. Yeah. Because as foreshadowed, she coughed, therefore she's deathly ill.
Hmm.
Um
Terminal lung disease.
yes. And Danger is kind of having a delusion where she has cast herself as the X-Men's mother, that
Right.
she has done so much to raise them over the years and blah blah blah, and then she's been abandoned, blah 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 blah. And so she soups Wolverine and Deadpool, and their healing factors make them grow together into this disgusting amalgam. But they Wade delivers a great line to Blind Out. They win, blah blah blah, whatever. Wade delivers a great line to Blind Out at the end of it, where he's like, "Yeah, Danger was a monster, but I empathize with monsters." And then Wade gets to join X Force.
Yep. Um, ba- Danger's pulling a Vision here.
Oh yeah. Vision
Uh,
from the Tom King series.
yeah.
Except instead of Tom King working out his trauma of living in of being a CIA agent, and uh, this is yeah,
Not.
not that, but
Yeah.
living a domestic life while being a weirdo robot.
Right. So I guess I have two historical, quote unquote, historical comic references for
Hmm.
this like plot line. One being Danger pulling a vision, and so that little baby Danger Nendoroid sized bot is basically
This little
her
sentient
and
Funko Pop. Yeah.
yeah, it's her child that she fashioned as designed after her and Cerebro, and that's why it has like a Cerebro head.
Oh yeah.
And but she also has made an android version of Xavier to be like her
Right. And
husband.
a bunch of the
Like,
students to be her
yeah,
kids. Yeah.
yeah. So she's basically having this like home life crisis function thing,
Yeah.
which is
Shit's weird.
fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other historical reference is I don't remember who's run Duggan, I think,
Hmm.
on Deadpool, where he merged with Madcap, and
Oh yeah.
Madcap was one of the voices in his head for the longest time.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
for a while, the Deadpool run had two different voices in his
Yeah,
head.
two different caption boxes
Yeah,
that
it
were
was
used
super
as
fun.
narrators. It was very fun.
It was
And it turns
awesome.
out those weren't actually both Deadpool. One of them was
Yeah, it turns out
Madcap.
one of them was Madcap, because Thor vaporized the two of them, and
Uh-huh.
they ended up healing together the
Yeah.
same way that happened here for Wade and
Uh-huh.
Wolverine. But
Yeah.
because of that, in that flashback, when Wade figured out that it was Madcap in his head, he went and got vaporized by Thor again, and they were able to, because Madcap has the same healing factor. That's why this works.
Right.
So
Yeah.
they were able to concentrate how they healed to separate away from each other,
Sure. Yeah.
and that's how you bring back Madcap. And but
Hmm.
for this, they Deadpool has experience healing
They
up at
just
the same
pull each
time.
other, yeah, out of each
Yeah.
other.
But it does make for 2 pages of fun body horror
Yes.
if you wanted to
Absolutely.
use it.
Yep.
Anyway, yeah, so now Deadpool has earned his way back onto X Force after being like a founding member.
Yes. Not really
Yeah.
a founding enemy.
Founding oh yeah, that's right. Founding enemy of X Force. And it's funny because he's reading Wolverine issue 23 at the end of this.
Right.
In Wolverine issue 23.
Yeah,
It's very
he's
self
been
meta.
it's extremely meta, and he's been reading a lot of, real life comic books throughout this
Yeah.
this story arc.
Yeah, that's
X
that.
Force 29.
Yeah, we're moving on. X Force. Here it is. X Force 29.
So this is basically Cerebrax, the rogue
Yeah.
Cerebro unit, just kind of
Yeah.
stomping through the island and chomping on people. Black Tom, most
Got chomped.
notably, yeah, and that means that it has the connection to the island, and now it's like I am Krakoa, and this is a very terrifying big deal, right?
It should be.
We learn, yeah, should be a very terrifying big deal that gets resolved in one issue.
About 5 pages.
Yeah, we learn through a text page that Omega Red post resurrection has tech tentacles now, so he can hack things with his tech tentacles.
Tacticals.
Um, I was trying not to. Um, and uh, yeah, so Quentin's kind of the star of the show of this issue, and he goes to or he's been trying to save the cuckoos, and they say don't talk to who is it, Phoebe is like, you know Quentin was trying to warn us, and the rest of them are like, we hate Quentin makes us want to vomit. Quentin is our new word for vomit.
It's weird when they
um
like, as a collective, they talk very immaturely,
yeah,
but like individually, they're fine. I guess. I mean,
yeah.
that's just, I guess, hive mind mentality. Like that's fine.
Right, yeah.
If you erase the individual personalities, you're gonna have just a mess of immaturity, I guess.
Sure. um but it comes to attack, Cerebrax comes to attack them anyway, and Omega Red, uh zoops in to try and do the hacky tentacly thing to um shut it down, and then he can't quite get there, blah blah blah. Quentin comes to save the day and throttles it with all his powers, and this is kind of um the capstone of this long story arc of self-improvement that Quentin has been on this whole title, right? About he's tried like uh romantic relationships, he's tried changing his body, he's tried all of, just like coming to perspective and becoming a different person. And in this he makes the big grand sacrifice to destroy the evil monster, and then um becomes completely erased, psychically erased from the cuckoos, missing from Cerebro. No, Wolverine can't smell him. He's just gone.
Yeah. How? What?
Yeah,
I mean, that's one way to do a cliffhanger, is to do something
right.
that makes zero sense, and then.
This cliff will hang. Yeah. I
But
mean, I
yeah, he
guess you
was
could
just
say like if he
erased.
was trying to get rid of himself, then you know, an attack on a Cerebro unit would be a way to do it.
True.
But this seems more metaphorical about Quentin than specifically about the plot.
Yeah, I wonder. I wonder if I. Okay, I hope they don't do this, but like, this could be Quentin finding a new identity, and that's why they can't find him, because they're looking for the old
Ah,
Quentin. But he actually
right,
is there, but they just don't know it's him.
right.
That feels like a cop out, and I hope they don't. I hope it's a little more existential than that. But
I could use with I don't know. I don't specifically love a lot of the like specific points of the characterization of Quentin in the last few years. But I think the idea that he's on a self-improvement kick and is really trying to discover his real self, and beyond the bravado of like, I think a billion brilliant thoughts a second, and I'm 15 and I'm convinced that I'm smarter than everybody else in the world, right? Like that kid, we've all been that kid. That kid is
right.
annoying as fuck, but you can empathize with the kid version of that. So I don't. I'm curious to see what's coming for Quentin.
Right. Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
always
It's
been
always
just
hard watching the growth.
yeah.
Like,
As a as a former punk rock teenager who had strong feelings about the ways that the world around me was fucked up and wrong, and didn't have and wasn't taken seriously by many of the adults around me into the urgency that these problems actually needed. They were jaded and complacent with the world that they've created, and not willing to buck the world to change it the way it needed to be. I've empathized with Quentin a lot since he was first introduced.
do you think Quentin could say that entire sentence in one breath as well?
Oh, absolutely. He could say 10 million brilliant sentences in one breath. Um, but yeah, I always wanted, I would have always loved to see a story arc where Quentin like runs for student body president as a prank and wins, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, so you want
He would be my author insert character for a
you
certain
yeah
version of
you
myself. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
retrospectively were the blueprint for what Quentin should go through.
Exactly. Well, we were doing it kind of at the same time. It was 2001.
Yeah.
That was more like 2002, 2003. So he was more the
No, yeah,
blueprint for me.
you were
Yeah.
02, 03.
Yeah. I guess he
Yeah.
was about the same, honestly. That was when Ride at Xavier's happened. It was, well, I wasn't reading X-Men at the time. It was just something in the air, something in the psyche. My reading
Mhm.
X-Men as a kid just primed me psychologically for the exact turns that the franchise was going to take with in my absence. New
God, you're
Mutants
like
27.
sinister. Yeah, okay. New Mutants 27.
So this is continuing off of the last this story arc has been Ilyana, Rain, Danny, um and Madeline Pryor in Limbo. They're trying to give ownership, regency of Limbo to Madeline, and crazy shit is happening. They just met old Ilyana, who's been stuck in Limbo her whole life and is, middle-aged or older,
Danny
and
Dimes.
or elderly, and now um through Limbo timey-wimey bullshit, they meet young Ilyana, who was here as she was first brought to Limbo as a child. And so this is more clearly like the Ilyana that we have currently in her past. They have the same set of experiences of like all of and all of the things that Ilyana needed to go through in order to escape from Belasco, and then take control of Limbo for herself. Like that's all set up as like what's coming up next for this young Ilyana.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I was
I could see this being really um weird and off-putting to you, because this is basically a direct sequel to the first volume of New Mutants, and they get like really deep into inside baseball about like but the particulars of Limbo, and the particulars of Ilyana's character arc, and like a lot of shit that hasn't been touched in like 35 years,
mm,
you know so I could see this being a pretty like alienating book for somebody who didn't read old school New Mutants.
okay, yeah, cuz I was like, man, like I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I want to like it, but I don't love it.
Yeah, so a lot of it is not really well explained here. Like they kind of rush through a lot of stuff, and there's weird shit happening, right? Like all of a sudden Belasco is they're at the it's like an Alice in Wonderland thing, and they're at
Mhm.
the Mad Hatter's Mad Tea
He's the
Party,
Red King.
and Belasco's the Red King, exactly. And so there's just kind of like goofy stuff happening, but I think the key thing is, so they summon young Ilyana does a spell to summon the savior that she most needs, and it brings current day Colossus Piotr from Krakoa into Limbo to help them.
Yes.
And
And I didn't send it to you because I didn't know when you were going to read it, but I
uh,
did take a picture of the visual translations of what he says.
oh, I did too.
Okay.
I finally figured out your trip.
Okay.
Google Translate camera mode on my phone. Yes.
So cool.
It is very cool.
It's so cool.
Um, but so Piotr and Ilyana have such a complicated relationship, and I really wanted this is really what this is about. It's not explained. It's not well. It's not. They don't go into it well here, but like, um, but it touches on all of the notes. So
Mm.
like, um, Ilyana was a little girl, was his like baby sister. His first appearance was saving her from a runaway tractor,
Hmm.
um, out on the farm when Xavier first visited and
And that was how his
uh,
powers
recruited.
manifested.
I think they had manifested before. It was like this is a thing that everybody
That's
just
how he
kind of knows
outed.
about on the farm. It's just
Hmm.
Xavier happened to be there this time
Oh, okay.
and was like, "Hey, I do know you have these powers. You can use them for something more than farm work. And there's a whole world out there that needs your help." And
A
really
whole
appealed
new
to his
world.
appealed to his sort of like feeling of duty rather than like personal valor, heroism, self-acceptance that worked for um or just like the smallness of so like he was recruited through duty. Nightcrawler was recruited from like find to find acceptance and like escape persecution. Storm was recruited to sort of like stop playing pretend goddess and like join the real world that you know exists. And uh, uh, Thunderbird was recruited out of like a way to accomplish personal valor. Um, and on and on and on. But so yeah, they all have. I'm sorry, I'm getting way into the weeds here. Uh, and so Ilyana was this sort of like innocent figure that needed protection, and that's been like the bedrock of their relationship the whole time. If you think in Age of Apocalypse, like uh, Colossus loses his shit and ends up even killing his wife Shadowcat at the time, Kitty Pryde, because Ilyana is in danger, and he like charges straight through her and kills her in order to save uh, Ilyana, and and then she gets kidnapped to Limbo, she gets corrupted. He's unable to save her there. She gets corrupted, she uses her soul to make the soul sword. She comes of age, and she's very resentful of Peter because he still sees her as this child who needs protection and needs saving. And she's like, I've been through all this shit. You weren't there. I don't resent you for that. But you have to see me as I am now.
But
And he
recognize
was
how
just,
far I've come. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And he was just never really able to do that. Um, like and they kind of had a reiteration of that conflict during Bendis's run when magic is kind of first brought back again after death. And they meet, and he's like, Ilyana, I'm so glad you're home, we can be family again. And she's like, fuck off, like I barely know you, dude. And I'm not the person you want me to be, and so let's just keep our distance. And I think that this arc for Ilyana is really about kind of like bringing her back from the brink that she experienced in the Bendis run, where she was so cold and so isolated and so like just committed to the bit of being this like um badass uncaring soulless person. And so yeah, so the plot in this is like they blah blah blah, they do the thing, they defeat Belasco, but the text of the story is more about Ilyana's growth. And it's interesting, so at the end of it, when they defeat Belasco, she wants to take young Ilyana back to Krakoa with her, and young Ilyana says no. Like and like um so teenage, or young adult, current age Ilyana, let's go with that. Like, as much as she wants to turn her back on others' expectation her as this innocent, she has such a strong sense of what she lost, and she wants to preserve that in young Ilyana. Like, she's molded by this trauma, but she also recognizes that this was like not necessary, and needs to like it is not like a necessary pain that needs to continue. But young Ilyana pushes back and she says, now that I know who you are in the present day, I would be proud to become you one day. And that's a really amazing piece of closure for such a complicated character in Ilyana. It again, I don't think it's very well like um spelled out in this,
Mm-hmm.
but it it's a very for having read so much Ilyana over the years, I think
Right.
this is a very like necessary step in her character arc to kind of like close you because you're in limbo, you're doing all this timey-wimey bullshit, you're closing the loop with all these plot threads that have been dangling since 1983, but you're also closing the loop on a character arc and letting her get to a point where she can progress forward past this like cold heartless badass. um so yeah,
Okay.
I enjoyed it for that.
Cool. I'm glad that um, like it makes it's one of the things that make me thankful for like this podcast is just like
Yeah,
I read it and it's like, okay, we had old Ileana, now young Ileana, we're moving on. Like
right.
it's the weight of the impact of the fact that it is Ileana
Totally.
is completely lost on me because I don't have those 40 years of reference. Cool. Well, that's good to know. I'm glad for that.
Yeah.
I have I have observations for the next issue that we'll go to into in the next
Marauders
Destiny
4.
volume. But
Yeah, the
yeah,
next
no,
New Year's one. Yeah.
it was cool. And from our conversation on the last episode of just like we're getting these little scenes of what young Ileana was doing
Yeah,
under
the
the
storybook.
imprisonment of
Yeah.
Belasco and how that's never
Hmm.
been seen. That makes me
Yeah.
kind of excited to see these kinds of things.
Yeah.
So that's been fun. But yeah, what's next? Marauders.
Yeah, Marauders number 4.
Marauders 4.
So I guess Xandra died part 2.
Is this it? Yeah, this is it.
I'm just gonna say again, it's very silly and uncomics like to leave a cliffhanger like that. Like a big moment. This is too big a moment, like her actually dying is too big a too big a moment to treat like a normal comic book cliffhanger where you don't see the body and then have no resolution, because the
Yeah,
issue opens up and everybody's like, oh my god, Xandra's dead, and then like one page later Kate gets killed extremely randomly too. um
like yeah,
I'm sorry, man, this book sucks. I really don't like this this second volume of Marauders. And maybe part of it is just like the contrast between how good the last volume of Marauders was. But I'm just like plot construction here and the way that you are, building and then building plots and resolving tension and like conveying like the art is very chaotic all the time. Like think people are just like saying random things and like dumping exposition through like chaotic action scenes. I don't know. I it's leaving me flat. This might be my least favorite Krakoa era story completely.
yeah. Okay. Um, that's in wow. As a
There are some cool
standalone,
there are some cool high concept thoughts going on, right? Like some and they're doing some things that are interesting, like regarding like trying to give any explanation at all to the Eric the Red recurring
design.
design. Yeah, it really wasn't anything more than that before this. I appreciate the attempt there. I appreciate the characterization of Cassandra Nova. Or it's fun. It's a fun take on this insane character. Beyond that, I don't know. I'm having a rough time with this one.
So my only like counter thought
Hmm.
is that I feel like this is a story that, well, okay, exploring the Shi'ar 10 shames was the
Hmm.
goal,
Yeah,
and it didn't matter what team they were going to use to tell the story. And
sure.
it was like the short straw was drawn that it's going to be the Marauder story.
Yeah,
In the same way that like Ant-Man Quantumania
happened to
needed
be the
to
Kang story.
needed to tell a Kang story and introduce
Uh-huh.
Kang as this big deal, and it just so
Yeah,
happened that next on the roster was to do an Ant-Man movie, and so it had to be Scott Lang that did
God.
quantum shit.
Um,
And like, so to the point of, this is not the Marauders that we've had since day one of Krakoa. Fully
right.
agree. And
Yeah.
and it's a stretch even for Kate to be like, there's mutants that need rescuing, we need to go and rescue them. Because
And
conceptually,
then, oh, we'll go to space.
right.
And
Like this is, it's a huge
yeah.
stretch, and I'm totally with
Right.
you on that. I guess from a like, I look at things in the like universal sense,
Sure.
for lack of a better phrase.
Yeah.
I'm having fun with it because I like this backstory to this,
Hmm.
galactic superpower, because that's just fun for me. But
Yeah.
did it have to be a Marauders title? Probably not.
Yeah.
This could have been a limited series, 6 to 10 issue non X title, and just be like Secrets of the Shi'ar, and just let that be its own
Uh-huh.
thing.
Yeah.
But alas,
Alas.
this is the medium that we've been given, and that's what we get. Because it does suck, because there's a lot of established characters that are not acting the way that they've been acting
Sure.
ever,
Yeah.
with the
And
exception of
there
Bishop,
are
because he has no
right,
mo.
no. It's like a yeah.
But like, the exploration of tempo and her relationship to
Right.
time is weird.
It is weird.
And her
She has
like,
so
the way that she props herself up on this soapbox about like, I experience
I'm
time differently than you, tourist,
chronokinetic,
talking,
blah, blah. You're right.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
talking
yeah.
about Bishop and how he's
And
just a time
and
traveler.
and then all we're doing is just doing a standard like butterfly effect, like timeline ripple
Right.
storyline. It's like, is
Which is
this
not
it's
new.
really
Like,
worth getting? No, it's not new at all. And it's really
more
presented as like,
experience, more experienced writers and more experienced time people have dealt with
yeah,
the ripple effect and butterfly effect
yeah,
of time
yeah.
travel. You are not special, Tempo.
And
But
it's a shame because
they had to raise
yeah,
her up to
yeah.
the level that Quanon, Cassandra Nova, Bishop, Iceman, all these insane people are at.
There's a lot of room for her. I mean, the very little characterization that she got in the 90s as a member of the Mutant Liberation Front definitely like leaves me wanting more. Like
Mm,
she was a character with potential and somewhere where someone who I was excited to see explored, and I just don't. Um, yeah, I'm just not seeing anything particularly interesting here. I think my biggest problem with this book is less, some of these plot things and more just like I just don't think it's like plotted. Or it's not like well constructed as a story, like as a comic book.
End
You
of
like page to
life.
page, panel to panel, like it just doesn't tell its story very well. Um, but yeah, so the rest of the summary here, they come across a member of Fang species, Fang from the
right.
Imperial Guard, who is basically Wolverine with a different suit, and he's an alien.
Right,
So
alien
he has
Wolverine.
claws in yeah, he has claws and a healing factor, and Wolverine actually did steal his suit
Right.
the first time they fought. And so they're using this guy's brain, his healing factor brain, as a memory storage, and that's how they pop it open. He heals up. They plug in psychically, and that's how the Marauders learn what the first blood spilled was. And we
Which
learned
is
that billions
interesting.
of years ago, there was this mutant society called Threshold. Why was there a mutant society billions of years ago before humans?
Why do they
I'm
speak
assuming
English?
there's
Doesn't
more
matter.
weird ass time travel shit going on. Yeah.
Well,
And
these are the
so,
first mutants.
come on.
Which so
Chronologically,
okay. So
it's
I
eons
wouldn't lean
before.
into this. I wouldn't lean into this if it wasn't for Wolverine the X-Men expanding the concept of what mutants are. Because they let in Brew because
Okay,
he's a mutant according to the Brood species, and they let in Kid Gladiator because he's Kid Gladiator. Like,
okay. Aside from all
so
this, do you know what
mutant it did
shape Earth was in? Would they say this was 5 billion years ago? What
Pangea.
shape
It just
the
said
planet?
billions.
No, not it. It wasn't even Pangea. It didn't even like. I don't even think it supported plant life yet. Like
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
I think the I think it was still like um mostly molten at that point.
Um. Okay. Is this on Earth?
Yeah.
Is it?
They say well they don't say for sure. They say it
It
came
just
from the
says.
third planet from their
Oh,
star.
that's. Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. You no, you're right. You're right. You're right.
So there's
You're
some
right.
weird ass time travel shit going on. There's got to be.
Probably. Cause well, okay, cause they do so yeah, okay. No, it's definitely Earth. Um, because they show the Phoenix. They show the
Oh,
Phoenix and her host from
right.
Million
Yeah,
BC
yeah.
Avengers. So yeah, it was too many. They chose too many years.
It's just kind of silly.
They chose too big of a time jump. But yeah, this is the first. This is the first mutants, and Apocalypse and everyone else are the second mutants.
Also silly.
Which okay, is would that have been in Ten of Swords or would that have been in Powers of X that they talked about the first and second mutants? Because is Apocalypse like the surviving one of the survivors of the first mutants?
I don't know, man. This shit leaves me cold. I've given up trying to keep track of this. I'm at whatever point with this. At the point of saying whatever. This feels to me like a continuity wrinkle that will not survive this plot, and I have released myself from the responsibility of trying to care on how to figure out how it makes sense.
Okay. Well, um, I mean, the first mutants. The idea of the first mutants was cool.
Yeah.
But setting it billions of years in the past is a bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
And hopefully that I don't know, maybe that'll get switched or fixed. But yeah, because I think I feel like it was just written poorly. Like this almost feels like the last season of Game of Thrones. Like they know that they were given, hey,
This is the this
table of contents. This is what needs
yeah.
to happen,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they're
yeah.
like fill in the blanks. Like
Uh-huh.
yeah. Well, okay, let's just get this over with because I want to go write a Star Wars book. So like, it's so to I guess to dovetail off of your I don't want to say
Frustration.
disgust, but dislike of
Yeah.
what's going on. Like I want to like it.
Yeah.
It just doesn't give me a lot to like. Also, what's the place called? Safe Haven or Threshold?
Threshold.
So they answered the war with the Shi'ar with 5 mutants and then lost. Like they were an entire society. They could have tried a little harder and they
No,
could have
they
won.
won. No, they won.
But
The five mutants won.
well,
The
no,
the
the
the shame of the first blood spilled is that the Shi'ar came in to do some
yo yeah,
genocide
they
and
got
got turned
wrecked,
back by
and
yeah,
then
and
and
then came
then
back and got
and
wrecked
then
again.
came back. Yeah, but it's just like if you had sent a sixth mutant threshold, the Shi'ar would have just ended right there. It would have been done. They wouldn't have had the first shame. They wouldn't have lobotomized symbiotes in the future. They wouldn't
Well,
have
no,
had this whole
the
war with
whole
the
thing. No,
Raptors.
no, 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 no. The whole thing was that they wouldn't go. The threshold wouldn't go into space, and so the Shi'ar were safe because they could just retreat. But they kept sending people to go and genocide all of the mutants, and the mutants are like could actually defend themselves. And the shame is that they tried to do this and failed.
Yeah. Well, so
And
like,
then so the thing the where why there's missing mutants is that um you know many years later for whatever reason there were um there were mutants from Threshold who were taking time lifeboats to try and escape something, and the Shi'ar killed them all, or but kept a couple for their own
trophies, I
study
guess.
yeah,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. It's not amazing.
I like the idea that the shame is built up to be what we did to the mutants, and instead it's what they did to us. I think that's an interesting wrinkle for the
Mm,
Shi'ar.
mm.
I like that they make sense of why Shi'ar are involved in mutant shit, going back to, um, the Phoenix Saga, and why this Eric the Red costume keeps popping up, and it's because the Eric the Red role is for assessing mutants through time after Threshold to see if they become a threat again. Um, but yeah, so they find out that something time lifeboats were destroyed, and Tempo's like, I know you all are about to ask me to go back in time, but this is but fuck you, this is harder than it seems, this is a real strain on me, and it's not going to do what you want, and but whatever, I guess we're doing it anyway. And so they do it, and for
Right.
some reason they go all the way back to the fall of Avalon in the 90s, and
That felt weird.
yeah, and Apocalypse's Age of Apocalypse son, Nemesis, aka Holocaust, aka Nemesis, um, because in AOA he earned the name Holocaust for presumably doing some holocausting, and then he was Nemesis originally, and then he changed his name to Holocaust, and then they're like, oh, we probably shouldn't have a character named Holocaust. That's kind of fucked up, and
Yeah,
so they
since we
changed it
went through all the
back.
trouble of having him be one of the 4 survivors of Age of Apocalypse
Right.
and bringing him over to 616, we should probably go back.
We probably cut this shit out. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
Um.
I
Anyway, I don't know what's going on here.
I have a soft
It's
spot for AOA originated characters or
I
characters
have
that
a
I was
soft
introduced
spot.
to in AOA.
I have a soft
So
spot for
like
the fall of Avalon.
so like there's a part of me that's excited that Nemesis is the splash cliffhanger
Yeah.
at the end of the issue, but like
Yeah.
I'm not entirely invested in this title, which makes me a little bummed.
Yeah. Um. Move along to X-Men 12.
X-Men 12. X-Men 12.
Okay, so we're starting with the kind of continuation of the confrontation between Cyclops and Dr. Stasis, who is revealed to be Mr. Sinister with a club on his forehead instead of a diamond.
Yeah. And he legit, like, because we talked about this last time,
Yeah.
he doesn't. He seems to be like a very not connected to the mutants and to Scott
Yes.
specifically.
Yeah. He knows about other Sinister. He's like, I'm the original Sinister. That guy put mutant DNA in himself. What a fucking abomination. That's disgusting. Um
I'm the
and
original Nathaniel Essex.
yeah,
He is a pretender.
and he's like, Earth has a sickness called mutants, blah 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 blah. You know, this is honestly closer to the original like classic characterization of Sinister than the Kieran Gillen Sinister of the
Oh
last
right,
10
yeah,
years.
the Victorian Sinister.
Yeah, I mean he was always Victorian, but the foppish
Yeah, yeah,
comedic Sinister.
right.
Uh I I have confidence that the new Sinister will stick going forward as the default characterization of the character because he is so much goddamn fun.
Right.
But it is interesting to note that this like darker and more just like plainly evil, like not even scheming as much as like genocidal Sinister is
Hmm.
yeah, is more in line with that. Um and yeah, so there's a convenient lab explosion that separates Scott and Sync from Sinister. Um, Sinister grabs a picture off the wall of a kid with a bunch of tumors on its head or something. I
Yeah.
think this is a reference to his stillborn son from Further Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix in the 90s, which was like one of his main uh, motivations for um, studying genetics and kind of going off the deep end and accepting Apocalypse's help. Not really that he wanted to save his son, but more just like, hey, we could learn a lot from this crazy ass shit.
Right.
Um,
Interesting.
yeah.
God,
Um,
that's really cool.
yeah. We also follow up on the plot from last issue on Game World. The vision of it, things going wrong there was all a psychic trap from Jean. Things are going great. They defeat Cordyceps Jones easily. They lock him in a metal ball. They liberate the entertainers at Game World, and they will then invite them to be entertainers at the Hellfire Gala.
I love I love that Cordyceps is like, wait. Shit.
Yeah, I
I'm trapped in the psychic
I
illusion
got
now,
beat.
aren't I?
Damn
Ah,
it.
damn it. I can feel the alarms going off now. Son of a
Yeah,
bitch.
yep.
I love I love
That's a
when
great villain moment.
right? Like when characters have been around long enough, either on paper or just in the world, that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
they like they can be
Like plot savvy
jovial.
without.
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Just like, ah, jeez. I fell for it, didn't I? I did. I
Yep.
did. Okay. I love that. Ah,
Yeah.
jeez.
We get Rogue's nomination speech, which is very short and to the point. She just says, "Nobody's saving anything without me." Cool. Just had to check that box off.
Hmm.
Because the team's all kind of saying their goodbye. Like everyone's looking at the upcoming Hellfire Gala as like, yeah, there's going to be a new team elected, and only Sync is really well. Sync, Scott, and Jean are the only ones interested in staying on.
Hmm.
Um, and then the third plot for this. Do you wanna talk about the meeting with Yurik?
This was this was cool. So yeah, so Cyclops and Sync go and hit up Ben Urich, and they're like, "Hey, let's meet." Because as we saw a couple of episodes ago, that Sync used Jean's psychic ability to wipe Ben Urich's mind
Yeah,
about mutant immortality and the whole secret behind resurrection, yada yada. But then when Sync took Ben's notepad, he saw that he wanted to celebrate
Yeah, he
the
was writing
achievement.
a positive story.
Yeah, the achievement that mutants have come across. And so then he starts to feel guilty, and he was
And
like, dude, Scott, you just died. I didn't know what the fuck to do.
and add to this, uh, it it's also the fact that this is clearly being there with the revelation that Sinister is stasis. They're kind of coming to a realization that this whole thing is an Orcus trap to try and destabilize or discredit Krakoa by having them lie about resurrection, have the story come out, have them deny it, and then have it basically be um, come out anyway and discredit them.
Mhm.
And so Scott kind of like figures it out and gets ahead of the story, so to speak.
Yeah. And so they basically tell Ben to his face, this is what we have: mutant resurrection. It's mutant
Yeah.
technology. It only works for mutants. I can't give you any more information beyond that because
Yep.
it's 5 specific mutants. And if they get
Yep.
targeted,
Right.
not great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yep.
so just, hey, also, I wiped it from your mind. I apologize.
Hmm.
Um, it was the wrong thing to do.
I can
And,
give you it back if you want. And he's
yeah,
like,
he's
no,
like,
I
I
want to
could give it
have. Yeah.
back, and he's like, nah, this isn't the first time I've forgotten a story.
Okay, so we'll get to that line.
Yeah,
But he also says like, I want my I don't want this mediated by your memories of my memories. Like
right.
I want to have
That's so cool.
my experiences straight, and I trust my notebook more.
Ben's such a
Um,
badass.
he is. But when he says this is not the first time I've forgotten a story, it flashes to an exact art replica of a panel of him in Daredevil Born Again from the 80s. Yep, it's like he's got like this shocked face, and he's kind of done all in red, and this is a direct callback from Daredevil Born Again. And what's going on in that scene that we're getting the callback to, um he he has a basically a source who will connect Kingpin to all sorts of horrible crimes and can be used to take down Kingpin for good. And the the source is in a body cast in the hospital. And so Yurik, he comes to consciousness. He says he wants to talk. He gets Yurik on the phone. He basically tells Yurik the whole story, and then as he's doing it, um, one of Kingpin's assassins, dressed as a nurse, comes in and kills the guy while he's on the phone, while Yurik is on the phone on the other side, and then picks up the phone and says to Yurik, like, are you going to be a problem too? Like, are we going to need to do this to you? And at that point, that's enough for Yurik to back down.
Yeah, wild.
Yeah.
Ah,
And
yeah.
so just the callback of like, not the first time I've forgotten a story.
Man, I love
And
hating. I love hating on in letting go of pieces of history to make the current narrative work. But
right,
I
when they
so
support the
much
current
more
narrative.
love when they do
Yeah.
callbacks to random
Yes.
ass character history like this.
Well, and this I mean, this is the most famous Daredevil story, right? Which means it's clearly the most famous Ben Urich story. And so this
Man,
is like formative piece. I mean, this is kind of like calling back to Uncle Ben for Spider-Man, right?
right?
But he's a lot more of a incidental character, and so it's really cool that they nailed it this way. I was stoked. I was also stoked that I recognized it because they didn't say,
Yeah,
"Oh yeah, like that time in
as
Daredevil
seen
Born Again
in
when
exactly.
yeah." No, it was nothing but the art, and I only recognized it because Matt Fraction wrote a blog post just going absolutely fucking bananas about Daredevil Born Again and the scene cutting techniques in it, which he then lifted and improved on and used in the Matt Fraction Hawkeye run that I'm so obsessed with. But he wrote this whole he like broke down like the way that specific scene cuts between
Oh wow.
Um, and that was like one of the that blog post was one of the pieces of writing that really made me think about these sorts of things and like
Mm.
made me want to go like I bought and read Daredevil Born Again based off of that blog post just to see how it works and how they did it and read this like classic story. And so it was I was really stoked
That's
to
so cool.
to go in and be like, I know this art.
Man, to be a comic book nerd. Um yeah, so Ben's just like, okay, well, thank you for telling me.
Yep.
I'm gonna write this book. I'm gonna write this piece, and it's gonna be rough for you guys. And they're like, oh please, like that's
We're
like that's
peace.
new.
Right.
Um,
And then they have one last mission together fighting the Mole Man in Madrid and basically just saying their goodbyes. And they're like, what are we all gonna do now that, the secret's out of the bag about resurrection? And they deliver your favorite line.
oh god, Cyclops was right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I took a damn picture of that shit. So yeah, so they're saying their goodbyes because like Sunspot's gonna go and do some Morocco stuff looking for
Red Root.
Red Root, and Rogue's gonna go off and do her thing.
Some,
Polaris
something that
is
Destiny has planned for her, which is
yeah.
terrifying.
I forget why Polaris is leaving, but she is, and Wolverine X-23 is just like, yeah, I gotta go do my own thing. But all you have to do is say to me, my X-Men, and I'll be there. And like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that's so cool. And then
Laura's
yeah,
a real
so
one for sure.
she is, dude. And Cyclops is just like, yeah, Quiet Council's gonna be pissed that I outed us, but if it plays out the way I think it's going to, everyone's gonna start saying it. They're gonna say Cyclops was right.
And
You
Sync
son of a
Sync
bitch.
Sync is the one who's like, I'm sticking around. Like, I want to get good at this shit.
Yeah, yeah, man. Sync. I'm gonna miss this team as much as I
Yeah.
like try to
Yeah.
throttle my excitement about this team for
Uh-huh.
12 issues because they were
Right.
so powerful.
You're right.
I really like this team.
Yeah,
I'm glad
yeah,
Sync
yeah.
is sticking around so we can see
Me too.
more of him flexing.
And in the next volume, we get introduced to who the next X-Men team is going to be. So that's
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah. So
Um,
now we move on
yeah.
to Destiny 7,
Oh, that's
which
right.
starts with Hellfire Gala.
Yeah.
And were you able to read the side issues also? There's like
Yes.
two.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I don't know
The
why
sort of
Secret X-Men is in here.
I don't either,
By the
but we
way.
already covered it on the
It's
pod.
dumb.
So
Yeah, we've talked about it a long time ago. X-Men Unlimited, Infinity Comic 50 through 55, which is another one of those like the people who lost the vote. What are they
Yeah.
doing?
yeah, I love it.
And then
And then kind of an
Amazing
immediate
Spider-Man
follow. Yeah.
number 9 and AVX or Avengers X-Men 1, which has the kidnapping of
The free comic book day, yeah.
yeah.
Tie-in.
Okay, so we start. Okay, sorry. One pause. Destiny of X, Volume 7. We read Hellfire Gala, and then Immortal X-Men number 4, New Mutants 28, Knights of X number 4, Legion of X number 3, which most of the rest of this pod is going to be spent on Hellfire Gala and Immortal X-Men,
Yeah.
if we're real honest.
Totally.
But okay, so Hellfire Gala starts with the free comic book day starts with
Oh
like
yeah.
the potential of Krakoa and what what their future could look like, and then it also has a news story with Mary Jane Watson and her Aunt Anna.
Yeah.
And they are spokespeople for Krakoan medicine because it is helping Aunt Anna with her Silver Age years and making her life more comfortable and buying them more time. And so Mary Jane, who has a long history, a varied history of different forms of public speaking, is arguably the perfect choice to be a spokesperson for Krakoa.
Yeah, for sure.
I was thinking about this.
Model, actress, like, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
but like, dude, her resume is not hireable as which, and I feel bad saying that, but like, as we just established in this episode, Marvel history is like 12, 13 years long.
Right.
In those years, she's been a supermodel, a
Yeah,
theater actress, a movie
yeah,
star. Fine,
yeah.
those three things, fine, that's
We go
fine.
together. Yeah, yeah,
She's been a dance club owner. She
yeah.
has, she's also been Tony Stark's personal assistant,
Uh-huh.
working for Stark Unlimited.
Uh-huh.
Like
Well
these
traveled.
five, yeah. But so like she's dealt with superheroics. She's dealt
Yeah.
with public speaking, and she's dealt with um, uh, um, talking to powerful people, both
She's got a hell
financially
of a
and
resume for this
powered.
specific situation. Yeah.
Right. But yeah,
And
so she's the
not
spokesperson.
only
Cool.
is she, it's like not only am I the president, I'm also a member. Like she's using her family's using the drugs.
Yes, exactly. And then they talk about like a potential where, I guess, is this from Moira's perspective of where she sees Krakoa going?
Yeah.
That she sees a future where Krakoa is going to fight the current roster of the Avengers, which is Echo hosting the Phoenix, a young adult Starbrand, Captain Marvel, Iron Man, Darkhawk, Namor, Captain America, and Thor. There will be deaths on either side, including Captain Marvel snapping Rogue's neck and Magneto
Yeah, dude.
wrapping Captain America's shield around his head and snap and killing him. Because we have actually seen him do something exactly like that 2 issues ago.
Right.
So for whatever reason, Cyclops gets coupled up against Thor. He doesn't stand a chance. Like, let's be honest. Anyway, so
Just a hammer to the throat. Just yeah.
so anyway, point is, because Moira wants to see the downfall of Krakoa and the mutants, and Mary Jane is a well-known spokesperson for Krakoa Pharma. What's her face? Moira goes and kidnaps Mary Jane
Right.
for some reason. We find out what that reason is in the Hellfire Gala, but like
Yeah.
the preview basically ends with a passed out a passed out Mary Jane in Robot Moira's hands.
Yep.
And this is, I think, the first time we see what Robo Moira looks like since
Is that true?
when so she got, I don't even remember what title it was that she got her robot body from the tech fanboy that she recruited.
Yeah, yeah.
But I feel like by the time the mutants got there, she'd already left.
Oh, okay.
And I don't think we actually saw her mutant or her robot body.
I thought she had it. She like visited her own grave or something,
Maybe,
or
maybe.
I forget. Anyway, yes.
It doesn't really matter, but yeah, I don't
Yeah.
remember either. Anyway, so Hellfire Gala starts out.
Yep.
Hellfire Gala 2. And oh yeah, so we find out that Ben's article came out like the day before or day of
Yeah.
the Hellfire Gala,
And
which
I
pisses
do
Emma
like
off.
I do like that it opens on a flashback to the last Hellfire Gala. It starts with
Ah,
Scott and Jean coming up with their plan, and
mhm.
you get interesting texture here as to why Scott and Jean wanted to do this X-Men thing, and it's basically like we want uh we want democracy on Krakoa. We think it's a bit of a shock to have it at the Quiet Council level at this point, but if we have it on the X-Men first, this will be like this people will consider this to be their leadership, and it will like surpass the Quiet Council, or the expectations will reach the Quiet Council, and so that kind of put their whole plan in motion, which is really cool.
That is cool. Yeah. Yeah.
And then the exact same, the one from last year's Hellfire Gala was them on the blue area of the moon, the Summers house. This one is them on in the tree house, in Seneca Gardens, in New York City. And they're talking about, yeah, the bugle story being, about resurrection being published and living with the consequences.
I guess I should also point out then after that. So after that, you have like a training scene.
Yeah. This is
Bishop.
something they've been talking about for a while, right? Like, we have to start drilling the non-team members, non-combatants on self-defense, and have like more community minded defense. So that was cool.
So I guess two observations here. So this is being run by Bishop and Ileana, who are
Yep.
commanders or
Captains.
whatever,
Yeah.
captain commanders, and they're like, hey, you know, whatever, however you can imagine super beings or the Avengers infiltrating Krakoa, try that out, and how do we defend against it?
Yep.
There's they did not address the cove that Wolverine likes to go surfing in, but it's not important. The other thing, because this has been in the back of my head, and it's just because it's me, and I wouldn't be surprised if it never gets brought up again. But the first page with Bishop in the background, there's this like spire thing in Krakoa, which could be a random building on Krakoa. But do you remember when Nightcrawler found this random no-name tower that didn't make sense, and it didn't have
Oh,
any
yeah.
it didn't have any entrances?
You had to teleport
He had
inside.
to teleport in and just guess that it was going to be hollow inside.
Yeah.
And he was like, "This is interesting," and then he hasn't gone back since.
Right.
I think about that tower all the time.
I think that was probably trying to set up Way of X, and then they went
Yeah.
a different direction for Way of X. They're like, we're going to use this.
I
And
thought that was
then
going to be the congregation hall or something.
Yeah, I thought so too.
And
But
it
it
just
is
wasn't.
way cooler to have it inside Legion's brain instead.
Yeah, with actual congregation, formerly known as Dust. Yeah.
Right.
And then there, so anyway, that just made me think of it. But then also Gentle thinks about how Hulk's hand clap smash doesn't make sense. he's like, so I clap loud enough to make a shockwave, but it doesn't hurt my ears. How does that work? Anyway, moving on. Emma reads the article, and then we have Clea Strange reading the article and being like, interesting.
We also have a memo from Orcus here, basically saying that killing mutants is legally not murder.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah, because they don't actually die, because they come back.
Yeah.
And this is where I started thinking about, like, there's a difference between rebirth and immortality. Like,
Right.
if you are eternally reborn, you still get killed. But I love that immediately Orcus is like, how do we use this to our advantage? How, like, okay, so clearly we can retroactively go and get a bunch of mutant hating murderers out of jail because the people that they murdered are no longer dead.
Yeah. Outrageous.
So cool.
That is your head
So
exploding.
cool.
Just for the audio only listeners.
Yes.
So yeah, we see Clea, we see Reed, we see Tony, we see Steve Rogers all reacting to the Bugle story and being like, I gotta get myself to this Hellfire Gala.
Yeah, I guess I gotta
And
go
so
back.
this is more of a reaction thing. Like, this is a reaction gala rather than a proactive. So we're not going to have any like firework displays, like,
Right.
where they're terraforming planets or anything. And yeah, we get a view back into the Moira MJ plot. They Moira took off her arm and put it around MJ's neck as a necklace and is using that to control her throughout the the thing. She also delivers a line to the rest of Orca. She says, "Let a girl have her secrets." And she's like, they're like, "How do you know all so much about what's going on with the mutants?" She's like, well, I've spent a lot of time around them, but beyond that, let a girl have her secrets." I'm not sure if this is just to avoid revealing her knowledge of the future or of many futures, or if there's more going on here.
Mm.
Um,
Mm. Right.
but
Well, okay. If there is more going on, then that's a
yeah,
step back to the schemy Moira and not this
right.
like this murderous super spy
Right.
ruthless Moira that we
I
got.
still want to hold on to this idea that the character that we were presented in House of X wasn't just pure bullshit.
Yeah. Because that was a
Because that was
great Moira.
such
That
it
was
was
a
a great
Moira
Moira. It was
that
such an
worked within
abrupt.
the entire last 60 years
Yeah.
of Moira.
Yeah.
It
And it was
worked.
such an abrupt change to be like, actually, no, she wants to destroy all mutants.
Yeah. Yeah. Um to
So
the
she
only
may
other thing
still
with that
have some
scene,
cards left unplayed, or maybe
I
she
hope she
doesn't. I don't
does.
know.
I hope she
I hope
does.
she does too. Yeah.
The only other thing here is Dr. Stasis is walking around without his helmet, and this is one of my least favorite movie tropes.
Once a character secret reveal or identity has been revealed, then it's completely
They
blown
just don't
forever.
wear the
Like
helmet anymore or the
blown
mask
for the
anymore.
audience once, it means that they're blown for everybody forever. Yeah, I understand why they have to do it in comics, because if you hadn't read that issue of X-Men, you wouldn't know that it's Sinister.
Yeah.
But still,
But by the end of Hellfire Gala, he does wear his helmet again. So it was
yeah,
just like this one scene. It's right after he escaped from Cyclops. Fine, cool. But like as
right.
soon as I saw him without the helmet, I was like, no, no. But then he puts it on later. Cool.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Um, so there's also the five have been locked down at the not allowed to go to the party because the story about resurrection is out, and Egg, aka Goldball, delivers a great line where he says, "Now I didn't want to go before, but now it's the only thing that I want. It is my going to this party has become my new sexual orientation." Oh, wonderful!
Egg is so odd. Your mic started getting crackly.
Did it? Oh my god!
It's not as bad as it has gotten, and so I wanted to nip it
Thanks
now.
for nipping the bud early. How is it right now?
All right, we're back.
All good?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
The next thing is we learned that Sinks, when he uses his powers out of muscle memory to copy somebody's power who he isn't close to, it ages him. He's got like a gray beard and gray hair and stuff.
Yeah,
He's like, I'm just gonna go shave it off so that nobody notices.
yeah. Because black don't crack, so like no one's gonna notice that he's like 20 years older. But like
Right.
that's a weird
It is very
side
strange.
effect.
Yeah. Like
I don't
this
get
is clearly
how
something they
that
want
works.
to use. I also don't get necessarily the problems with it, because it's like, well, it just, you know, dies of old age and then they bring him back young again. Easy peasy lemon
That
squeezy.
or just always use Wolverine's healing factor.
Or that, yeah.
Like
Yeah,
yeah,
which you can
it feels
use
like a
long range
non
now, so you can just
it feels like
always
a
muscle memory
non-existent
it.
problem.
Yeah, I agree.
Like I guess
It
it's
feels like they're just trying to set up something for him,
I wonder
or
I
power
wonder
him
if
down
it
a little bit.
right. That and or I wonder if this is how they're going to do an adult sync because he's been
Oh,
a teenager like this whole time.
That's a good point. Yeah.
He died a teenager, got brought back, still a teenager, lived for 500 years,
Still
died,
visually a teenager.
still visually a teenager. So I think they just want to
That's a
age
good
him up,
point.
probably.
That makes a lot of sense to me, actually.
I think this
Call.
version of Sync is beyond where they want. So like they're like, oh hey, look, this could be a problem. Let's reset
Right.
him.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah,
and
yeah.
then we'll do a storyline where he chooses that he wants to be like in his late 20s.
Uh-huh. Let's see. We've
Ooh.
got an interview between Jumbo Carnation and Janet Van Dyne about
Yeah.
fashion.
The two
Yeah.
biggest fashion designers of the Marvel universe.
Yes.
I just like that. Just the fact that that exists, this little like interview between the two of them,
So
is one of my favorite things about comics.
Yeah.
When you have thousands of characters
Yeah.
in a universe, and there's going to be similarities. There's going to
Yeah.
be two pop stars. There's going to be
Right.
two fashion designers. And
Yes.
when you get to the point in your continuity in your universe that they can cross paths,
Uh-huh.
even just for one conversation like this, that's
Yeah.
what I live for. That's
Yes.
that's the good shit. Not the X-Men, not the Avengers, not the Spider-Verse, just
Marvel in
the
general.
two unrelated characters crossing paths, having a
fa-
conversation that
About
just works.
fashion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when it's a lesser example, but like when Rhodey and Carol Danvers went on their first date, they just
Yeah.
talked military and like
Right.
their experiences on the force, and like
Right.
it had nothing to do with superheroes, had nothing to do with Avengers. It was
Yes.
just like an organic conversation that any two random people would have.
It's great.
So good.
Yeah.
It's so good. I love it so much. Oh man.
So anyway, the party starts. Emma
Party starts.
is there. Scott tries to talk to her because and she's like, I don't want anything from you right now. You just broke this crazy ass resurrection story. Unilaterally on right before my giant party happened, and you just put my life into absolute chaos. You bastard. But she does have time for John Hamm.
Jonathan.
Jonathan, yes. And then Clea steps in and she's like, hey, so this resurrection thing is really important, Doctor Strange. And she's like,
Hey,
one, we
mutants.
can't do that. Two, why don't you try and being the better Doctor Strange? You're alive, he's dead. I wish we could bring back John Lennon too, but it's not going to happen. And then that starts a whole conversation between all the rock stars that could possibly be brought back. And Spider-Man's like, you think maybe Hendrix or Bowie was a mutant? And he says this to Doctor Doom, and Doctor Doom's like, fuck off. He's like, yep.
I'm out. And then Doom's just
And
like,
then
wait.
Doom-
Lennon or fucking
He's like,
Bowie could have been a mutant.
Almost certainly.
It's so great.
It's
so
so
great.
good.
If you're gonna make Santa a mutant, you can make plenty of named people, of famous people. If you're gonna make Harriet Tubman a member of the Daughters of Liberty, you can make Bowie and who's that guy who's impossible? Rasputin mutants.
I think they did make Rasputin a mutant.
I want to say they did, and that
Yeah.
sounds familiar. It doesn't sound like a new idea to me, but the
Yeah.
fact that he was so impossible to kill in the real world, make him a mutant, it just makes sense.
I think he was also they're like, oh, and he's the ancestor of Piotr and Ilyana and Mikhail because
because they both have Rasputin in their last name.
Yep.
It's stupid.
it's very stupid.
So dumb. It's so racist. Like, I'm so thankful that there's too many black people to be like, what if they're related? Like in Star Wars, there's only 4 named black people in the universe,
Right.
and they already hinted at one of them being the daughter of one of the first. So it's like,
God
okay,
damn. Yeah. Yeah, it's like what if okay, so your mom is last name is Hoshida. That's kind of like Mariko Yoshida.
yeah, could they be distant cousins?
Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
Dumb. Anyway, other random things. Oh, Proteus gets approached by Moira. So
Yeah.
Moira's hand around MJ's neck doesn't make
Yeah, how
sense,
we
but it seems
feeling
to have
about
an
that?
image inducer and it seems to have a
Yeah.
neuro override thing.
Yeah.
So
So like
whenever she
when
wants, she
yeah.
can just take over Mary Jane as Mary Jane,
It
but
seems like
then
it's almost
also
complete takeover generally because we've got two weird things like going on here. Because Spider-Man sees her at the party and is like, "Hey MJ." And she's like, "I am here to talk about pharmaceuticals." And he's like, "That's weird." And then he's like, "Why is
cool,
my spider sense going off?" And that's when he bumps into Doom. He's like, "Oh, spider sense was Doom. Got you."
right?
But really, it's because it's Moira and MJ's in danger. And then Cypher is like, "Hey, I couldn't help but notice that you two seem to know each other." She was tapping SOS onto her wine glass, and he's like, "Oh, gotta get over there."
Yeah. So she can physically control Mary Jane, but then
Right.
the hand also
Not
has
enough to stop her from tapping SOS, but also enough that she would override what would be MJ's natural reaction at seeing Peter.
right.
Yeah.
And then she can also make herself look like Moira at
Yeah.
the drop of at the turn of a cell of a comic book cell. So the 5 convince Ilyana to let them go to the gala. Proteus is there. Proteus is Moira McTaggart's son.
Yep.
And so Moira pulls him to the side and is just like, "What's up, Gene Trash? How you doing?
It
I'm your
was so
mom."
unnecessary. Like
Right?
what was she even trying to do there?
That was ridiculous. But
Yeah.
like she went out of her way to be incredibly cold and evil to
To her
Proteus.
son. Yeah.
Basically just saying that he was a genetic experiment and nothing more.
Yeah.
The
Like
fact that he's still alive is a joke.
yeah.
And that didn't make
It's fucked up,
sense.
Moira.
That plays off into Proteus being mad, and then because it's MJ, Spider-Man gets involved, and
Mhm.
then that gives Moira the chance to get away, and that gets concluded in Amazing Spider-Man number 9.
Yeah. It basically is all an opportunity for a fun Wolverine and Spider-Man team up. And because Moira MJ leaves through a gate and they're going to follow via gateway. And also John Greycrow is there because Zeb Wells writes Amazing Spider-Man. And he also wrote Hellions and loves Greycrow.
Also, Greycrow would find a lot of purpose being a member of X-Force.
That's really true. It would be a great spot for him. Maybe he can be Quentin's replacement. Also, it's just such a small team anyway.
I know. But yeah, X-Force always plays security for the gala.
Yep.
So I guess if I were a mutant, I'd be on X-Force.
Yeah, you'd be the bouncer.
The only other, quote unquote, only other, I guess there's 2 other plot threads, but one is Mr. Fantastic shows up and is in
Yes.
attendance, and he is not shy about telling people that his memory was wiped by Charles and Eric.
Yep.
And
The
not the
memory
first,
of how to mask the X gene. Yeah.
yeah, not the first of which he tells Tony Stark. And
Yep.
you don't tell Tony secrets, man. Come on. Okay. so, so Tony's
Yeah. So
like, wait, what?
he
He's
immediately
like, yep.
blabs it at the blackjack table. But it's an interesting scene with him and Fei Long that kind of leads to it, right? And Tony's kind of being presented as the reasonable middle ground between bigot Fei Long and these crazy, radical X-Men over here. And is a bit of foreshadowing here. He at the blackjack table while he wins the hand. So take this with the foreshadowing that you will. They say, Mr. Stark wins. He says, as a futurist, I can tell you what will happen with your new technology. There will be fighting over it, and it will either proliferate or it will be destroyed. Lives will be lost, et cetera, et cetera. And who knows what will be destroyed with it. So, yeah, very obvious foreshadowing. And Deadpool sees Brian Posehn at the party, the comedian who used to write the Deadpool comic, and he's like, I'm still mad at that guy.
Oh, I was wondering what that was.
Yeah.
Got it. And I don't know who he's talking to. It looked like the zombie from the like Rob Zombie uh t-shirts.
Yeah, I don't know either.
But yeah, don't know. Yeah, that's a closed loop.
Yeah.
And then and then also Tony tells Emma about what Eric and Charles did to Reed.
Yep.
Not necessarily that what they erased, but that
Just
they
that they took.
erased.
Yeah, yeah.
And Emma's like, "That's not our way." And she's like, "Well," he's like, "Well, you might want to ask around."
Yeah.
So that's a whole thing.
So she's just fucking had it with all these stupid ass men and their secrets, and then finally through some John Hamm switcheroo, psychic switcheroo, um they uh Scott gets a dance with Emma at the party and gets to kind of like finally get to tell her what he's been trying to say this whole issue. And so he reveals, sort of like his secrets about Sinister and how the whole plot with revealing the secret of the resurrection came about and why he felt it was necessary. And she's like, well, as long as we're trading secrets, I got some for you here. And yeah, spills about the whole history with Moira. And he's like, what the fuck? Which, fair.
Yep. We got a cameo by Gwenpool.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Look, I'm just trying to get into a book." Oh, I love it. And then yeah, the only other thing is they do well, and then Stasis gets his helmet back. Yay.
Yeah. Emma has a good kind of monologue to start to close it out, where she says like, I hope we leave with more friends and allies than we had before, but if not, at least we'll have been honest with each other. We started our resurrection to quote undo mistakes, and maybe someday it'll be available for everyone. And then then they start the voting for the X-Men team, and she nominates Firestar. And Emma and Firestar have a long and sordid history because Emma tried to recruit, or successfully did recruit, Firestar to her first Hellions team. And then Firestar was like, whoa, 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 you're all doing some villain shit around here? Never mind. And pieced out very quickly and has never trusted Emma since. and they had like a confrontation earlier at the gala, and Steve Rogers kind of butted in and said like, you know, I've had uh dealings with people who I thought were like too powerful, too you know, too much, and like not somebody who I could like control or kind of like would go along. Like we're kind of out of control and kind of scary. My answer to it was I gave them more responsibility. And he's talking specifically about Rogue. And he's like, Rogue is an incredible X-Man, and she was an incredible Avenger for me while she was one. And so that gives Emma the idea, and she ends up nominating Firestar to be part of the new X-Men team. Interesting. See how it plays out. We also do learn before the party's over that because she not only is nominated, she wins election, and um, before the party's over, Tony approaches her and is like, "Hey, if you ever see anything around here that the Avengers should know about, give me a call."
That's such a
So the
weird way of
Avengers
saying that too.
like be our mole, be
Yeah.
be the Avengers mole on the X-Men, which we'll see where her. I'm sure this is like going to be a big old conflicted loyalties storyline and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, so the
Other
so the new
nominees,
roster, the new
yeah,
roster of the X-Men going into the second year of X-Men.
yeah. Scott,
Um
Scott on a similar thing because he has a weird interaction with Forge early at the party, nominates him maybe to keep an eye on him, and he debriefs later at the end of the party with Xavier in an interesting uh
yeah.
back and forth. Xavier says, "Is this going to jeopardize the progress for Project Black Box?" And he says, "No, I'll and if it does, like I'll get kicked off the team if I have to. Like Black Box is not going to be jeopardized." So we'll figure out what the fuck that means.
Right. I feel like Charles is just like if you don't finish this by the third gala, I will tell the world your real name. It's
He's like,
easy.
anything but that.
But yeah.
Red.
So the new roster of X-Men
Yeah.
Volume 2 Health
Hmm.
or Krakoa X-Men Volume 2 is
Yeah.
Cyclops, Jean and Sync, and then Havoc gets voted
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. Also at the recommendation of Scott, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Forge and Firestar, as we talked about.
Yeah.
Iceman,
Yes.
because Marauders
'Cause
is too small for him.
well,
and
and he
and
says like
Magic.
anyone else here has kicked the asses of some Frost Giants and Fing Fang Foom lately.
Nah.
Okay, let me on.
And Magic. Yay.
Yeah.
Yay.
So that's really interesting. Like we've it it's similar to how Polaris got on the came on the team last time, where she had gone through a bunch of like character growth in a different title, and now she's like getting called up to the big leagues essentially. That's
Mhm.
kind of what we're doing. I mean, not that they haven't been X-Men before and proved their worth previously, but that's kind of what we're getting with Havoc and Iceman and Magic all here, right? Like
Right.
they have all been kind of like kicking ass in outside books, and now it's time to bring them into the fold of the big team. So it's cool for them to, get rewarded with promotions like that.
Um,
They
as
also they give the nomination speeches are not a mystery this time. We see all of them, so it's not going to be a slow reveal throughout the X-Men
right.
title.
Just as I was like, I don't know about this placement for Sunfire last round, I am
Uh-huh.
equally, I don't know about this placement for Forge. Like, from a story perspective, I don't
Seems very
fully get
clearly driven by story. Yes.
it.
It's going to be a way to keep him in regular publication while whatever the fuck is going on with this Project Black Box thing.
Right. Because, well, I guess so. Obviously, he got brought back from Cerebrax.
Yeah.
And so, like, maybe he's just like, I need a break from X Force.
Don't blame me, dude.
Yeah. I don't, it's whatever. And then, so, Hellfire Gala, with that,
Yep.
they're gone. Everyone's going home. Tony's like, that was fun. Thanks for the party.
Hmm.
And then Emma and Bishop are just like, we gotta deal with Moira now.
Yeah.
And Bishop's like, don't worry, we're killing her. And Emma's like, just save Mary Jane. I'm tired of these gala and parties ending with murders because Scarlet Witch
Because
was
Scarlet
killed last
Witch.
year.
Yeah.
And so we see the resolution of that in Amazing Spider-Man. But for whatever reason, the plot from Amazing Spider-Man also deals with Moira, but then we have Moira at the end of Hellfire Gala,
Doing something
washing her,
completely different.
yeah, washing her bloody hands, and then walking into another boardroom, and is like,
Yeah.
"Hey, let's talk." And she is talking to some Eternals.
Eternals, yeah. And she
And
tells them, so these deviants here on Krakoa, not mutants, deviants, they have found a way to make a bunch more deviants. So go kill the five.
yeah, gives the mutant names of the five.
Yep.
So that's
So now
kind
we
of
know
cool,
exactly what AXE is.
right? So conceptually, because it's like just in the universe of 616, we've known that the mutant gene is connected loosely to the deviant gene, and that's what
Right.
allows for the mutation within humans to
Right.
enter mutantdom. So like that's that. It took until 2023 to be like, yeah, but Eternals are supposed to kill all deviants. Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe
And
there's something here.
there's another part to the free comic book day AXE preview. We saw the Moira MJ um abduction plot in the part that we read for this. There's another part of that issue that deals specifically with mutants and deviants, and like what's the difference between them. So
Oh, that is in the
probably
Judgment Day book.
in your
Yeah,
Judgment Day book. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So that'll be fun.
Yeah. Um yeah, that's all I have on that issue. Shall we move
Yeah,
along?
yeah. Then the rest, I don't think it's going to take too long. It really kind of depends on how much you really want to get into this X-Men Unlimited issues.
Oh, yeah, no, it's just Avalanche, Gorgon, Gentle, Micromax, Surge, Bling, Siren, and M, aka Penance. Oh, and Armor, all being like, oh, why didn't we get nominated? Um, and then did you also read the follow-up comic where they are like um doing a little like mission to
Yeah,
save Krakoa from whatever pharmaceutical company that was?
yeah. Administrator Percy.
Yeah, and that is an interesting callback, and I'm curious that it happened here because this is a character, or this what, Typhon Pharmaceuticals or something, and their administrator Percy, who demands to be called administrator.
Yeah,
Um, that is a character and an organization that was created by Hickman for Secret Warriors. Hasn't been seen since.
yeah.
And and how did Hickman just like uh not give in to the urge of having them show up immediately in something that he could write? You
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
And and as a result, they show up here instead. I feel like the instant that Krakoa got into pharmaceuticals, he would be like, "I've done pharmaceuticals before."
I know, right? But instead, he went with horticulture.
I was just thinking that horticulture kind of fits the similar role. Horticulture was so much fun, though. I'm I'm
They're
glad
great.
I'm glad we
Horticulture's
got
awesome.
introduced to the horticulture. Um,
Yeah. I mean, it's another one of those sets of issues that like it starts and ends and resolves all within itself, and there doesn't
yeah,
seem to
yeah.
be any like world affecting,
No,
greater
it's just
narrative
a way
affecting
for
things.
these characters to get some screen time. And I guess the last set of these I think did lead into that Secret X-Men one shot. Like all of the characters who felt spurned at
Right.
who had those little X-Men Unlimited specials of getting spurned in the last round of voting were in Secret X-Men. So maybe we'll see this team come together again.
And motherfucking Armor misses it 2 times in a row. She's 0 for 2.
I know.
I want more Armor.
Yeah. The
I
people
just
deserve
put her on any title. It doesn't
the
have to be
people
X-Men.
deserve Hisako. Yeah.
She's so cool.
She's very cool.
Yeah, and the like what's the shoe drop about Typhon is that they're a branch of Hydra. They're connected to Hydra.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's the whole thing.
And they're snake people also.
They are snake people. And Administrator Percy gets away, and their whole goal was to kill Gorgon somehow for some reason.
Yeah. Oh, because
Well,
he
because he used to be Hydra.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And they're pissed.
Yeah.
And then at some point, Gorgon was made mutant. Because I don't think he was always a mutant.
It's fine.
Yeah.
He was a new
whatever.
enough character. Yeah.
It's not a big deal.
Whatever.
But yeah,
Hickman created him and wanted to write him again.
exactly.
Yeah.
So who's Cassie?
Um.
I don't know
the
this
contact?
character.
Oh, Cassie is. It's Bling talking about her, right?
No. So at the very end, Jumbo Carnation's like, "Oh my gosh, your costumes are tattered. Cassie, help!" And then Cassie just like does one of these things and brings their. It's like she magics or mutants their
yeah.
clothes back.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
Okay. Like it
'Cause I
could be,
think-
she shows
oh.
up in one cell. It's not a
Yeah.
big deal. But and then M is like, "Ooh, we could use that at X Corp," and that's the only like breadcrumb that can come out of this is M now knows that Cassie can like create clothes or something. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going on the wiki now. I want to find this out.
But yeah, I don't know who that is. But what else? While you look that up, should I just talk about this Spider-Man issue?
Yeah, please do.
It's really just a brawl. So Spider-Man and Logan are did a quick Spider-Man's perspective recap of the Hellfire Gala, and then they want to track down Moira. What's
Real
his
quick.
face?
I'm sorry. I found it.
Okay.
This is a character who you would know. Cassandra Michaels was Magneto's first love interest when he moved to the United States. First appeared in Magneto Volume 2, Number 1 in January 2011. She is the
Oh.
mutant who created his costume with her mutant powers.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Not
Those are the only
reporter.
two. Those are the no. Those are
He had a thing in his solo comic with a reporter.
These are
I don't
the
remember
only
Cassie.
two issues she's ever appeared in.
Oh
Is
shit. Okay. Okay. So okay. All right. Well,
it's
there you go.
unclear exactly what her powers are. Something to do with creation of
Clothes.
clothing. Yeah.
There's a character, there's a top hero in My Hero Academia called Best Jeanist, and he can control um, threads of clothing.
He can just strip you down naked in the middle of a fight. I'm
Legitimately.
just I'm just think okay, now I'm just thinking like the sweater song from Weezer just playing.
No.
If you want to destroy my sweater. Oh, oh, oh. Anyway,
Um. So they want to track down Mora. Um, Grey Crow follows and tracks them to France,
yeah.
and there's one cool thing, I guess, that Spider-Man. So Spider-Man and Wolverine have teamed up a number of times in the past,
So many times.
and because Mary Jane's involved, Spider-Man's being hasty, and Wolverine's like, "You need to slow down. We need to do this right, or you don't want another Berlin on your hands."
Ugh.
And that is a
Now they just
reference.
always bring that up. Yeah.
I know, right? Because we've even talked about it already on the
Yep.
pod.
Yep.
To the last time Spider-Man and Wolverine teamed up on comics, but it was a Spider-Man Wolverine title uh, mini series where Spider-Man accidentally killed somebody,
Yeah.
and we don't talk about Berlin. No, no,
Right.
no. So basically Wolverine's just like, listen, unless you want someone to die, we're doing this the right way.
Yep.
So they do it the right way, and turns out that robot Moira is being guarded by a bunch of smileys, which are also robots, and so they can go
Yeah.
and just Wolverine the shit out of them.
Yeah.
And then Grey Crow ambushes, and then Spider-Man ambushes, Wolverine ambushes, Spider-Man saves Mary Jane, but by being distracted by Mary Jane, doesn't get a chance to stop the robot hand from getting away and back to the main body. And then
Yeah.
you get the Zeb Wells version of Moira, which is a lot more battle ready, for lack of a better phrase. Has a bunch of spikes and sharp angles,
Uh-huh.
and has electricity and tries to take out Wolverine and this, that, and the other. She loses the fight but runs away through a portal and says, "Where is she going? Check out Axe Judgment Day." So it's basically she leaves through this portal
More
to
fucking
go and
Moira.
put
Yeah.
on her human skin, or turn on her human holographic projector with blood on her hands that she washes
Right.
off, to go and talk to the Eternals, to be like, hey, these are the deviants you want to mess with. Anyway, and then to make it Spider-Man comic, Spider-Man MJ. It ends with Spider-Man MJ talking, and Spider-Man's just like, "Hey, so we have history, huh?" And she's like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Is this Paul's fault?" And she was like, "Well, it is Paul, yeah. Why can't you just talk to me?" He's like, "Because, damn it, Peter, like." It's not about that. It's about responsibility. I thought you'd get it, and then she walks away. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. The next issue of Spider-Man is the AXE issue.
Huh.
So,
Okay.
and those are the first two issues of volume 3 or volume 3 of Amazing Spider-Man. And so I just haven't read it yet.
Oh, okay.
I read this issue and I was like, it's fine. Spider-Man Hellfire Gala, there's no way he's going to be that involved. So I just read this issue and I was like, well, that was random. And that's how I found out that Moira had a robot body. And I was like, shouldn't have known that. And then, and then the next issue is AXE. And I was just like, I'm putting this down.
Yo,
It's fine.
I see why you were so burned by spoilers that you're like, okay, we're reading nothing but Krakoa for 3 months.
Yeah. Ugh. Next issue is Secret X-Men issue 1, which you already read, so we can move on.
Yeah.
And we decided before we were recording that we weren't going to do a fashion review. One
Yeah.
for time, and
Sorry
two
to
because it's just meh.
Well, yeah, it's not as interesting in this one, and as we kind of hinted before, and we'll get to again. The last Hellfire Gala was fucking crazy. There was murder. There was a terraforming a planet. There was tons and tons of tie-in books and small interactions between characters and lots of stuff going on that was fun to track. This one issue it was a little one shot and then they're done with it. And so also we're just I'm sorry, we try, but we're just two straight guys, and the fashion review, it's not our wheelhouse. I don't think we were any good at it.
Yeah, I mean, fashion's not our strong suit.
Yeah. As
And
judged by anybody who's watching the VOD of this, what we're both currently wearing. Fucking
I'm wearing a
disastrous, both of
Spider-Man
us.
baseball jersey. I get a
Uh-huh.
small pass.
I'm wearing a white lung t-shirt that I cut the arms and
So I
neckline
guess
off.
just from acknowledging it, were there any designs that stood out to you?
No. uh no, Black Widows with the full the braid going all the way down. She looked like the this year's Eurovision contestant from I want to say was it Slovenia? No, Slovakia. Yeah,
Mm.
they had the like floor length braids and they danced with them in a really strange way. Um, that's all I have to say about
It
that.
was so that design's reminiscent of, I feel like, an alt universe Black Widow version. Like I feel
Mm.
like it's like a 2099 Black Widow or something.
That's funny because they also heavily did a very heavily 2099 influenced Spider-Man too.
Right. I do like the change of placement of the spider on his suit, that
Mm-hmm.
it's on his shoulder and the legs are wrapping around to the front and the back.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. I liked Doom's mask.
Uh-huh. I kind of liked the whole Doom getup actually, just a big old
Yeah.
like porcupine.
I liked Tony Stark's, like, it looked like hard light jacket, but in
Uh-huh.
in practice it's probably see-through plastic
And
that you see in on like runway models.
like hard light sunglasses or something.
Yeah. I mean, he
Yeah.
calls it his suit armor.
Uh-huh. I think that's just him being a little extra.
I think so too.
Just everything's an armor.
I kind of liked Havoc's look.
Mm-hmm.
Just the jacket was kind of cool. And I honestly, I really liked Cyclops's look.
Oh yeah.
The like, I don't know, it kind of looks like a musketeer, just with like the over the shoulder cape and
Yeah.
kind of piratey look.
Slick back boy band hair.
Yeah. But other than that, I don't think
Yeah.
there's anything to write home about. We have other things to talk about anyway.
Sure.
Immortal number 4.
Yeah. Immortal number 4.
Diamonds are forever.
Yeah, so this is really kind of a character study into Emma, to a large extent. As she's preparing for the gala, she looks at her dress. She talks about how she sleeps in diamond form. Um, in part, she says it's my telepathy is turned off, and so I can sleep better, and I'm also like in defense against psychic either invasion or like lashing out while I'm dreaming. But also it's to keep me from aging out of vanity.
Yeah. Yeah, that was cool.
But it's a cool wrinkle into like the thing that you're always into about like how would people use their powers practically. If you had these powers and it was just like kind of an effortless part of your life, what would you use them for? And Emma uses it to
To
prevent
avoid,
aging while she's
yeah,
sleeping.
she
Age,
ages
age.
at 2/3 the speed of everyone else around her.
Yes, yes, exactly.
It's awesome. So I guess it does bring about this like question of like, so does she only consciously turn it on and off and not
Mm,
consciously have it
like
activated?
maintain it. Yeah,
It's kind of an interesting thought because I get, it makes me wonder for like Colossus also.
yeah, for sure. Um,
Also, neither of them have ever done partial activations.
you're right. It's always hmm,
That's like a step up that they could do, I guess.
maybe. I guess why would you want to? Well, maybe there are some purposes for it. But also I love I'm sorry, I'm just really into this characterization of Emma here going into it. Because kind of like she's saying like, Scott told me it was uncomfortable when I slept as a diamond. I don't know what he sees in me. I also don't know exactly what he sees in me. It's difficult knowing exactly how magnificent you are, also knowing you're nothing. And just like this profound self-confidence and uh anxiety, like lack of confidence from Emma is a really great kernel of the character, and it really shines through. Like it's a really consistent part of who she is, and it's delivered quite well.
Yeah.
Emma's a great character. Anyway,
Emma is a great character. Every like almost every month, like there's something that happens that makes me like Emma a little bit more.
mhm,
And like to the point where like she's definitely now like she's like top 5 for me.
yeah.
And it's like, what do I like her more than Moon Knight? I don't know, man. Like, don't ask me these things. Also, I get this like, I have this complex. I'm developing this complex where like 3 of my top 5 are mutants. Like,
Mhm.
can I look anywhere else, please?
Well, I think that might be just influenced by how great Krakoa is right now. Like
Yeah,
you're really
yeah.
getting great stories and great characters, like specifically right now, and it's okay for these things to move around. Okay, here's just more great Emma lines. Telepathy allows two things: control and empathy. You can make people puppets. You can see people as they really are. In my darkest hours, I wonder if that's why I'm not quite up there with Jean. I could only ever really
Mm.
commit to the former. I have to be untouchably perfect, which means that I will never will be. To achieve perfection, one much must be touched and touched profoundly. And I'm aware that when I'm touched, I am hurt. Holy fuck, dude. So good.
Yeah, just
Kieran Gillen, man,
I know.
welcome back to welcome back to the X books, Kieran Gillen.
It is amazing the consistency at which Emma is written. Like
Yeah.
85 to 90% of her portrayals have been consistent with her character.
And it would be so easy to make her such a less deep character,
Mm-hmm.
to like uh just focus on the beauty, or just focus on the powers, or like
The
all of these
vanity,
things.
yeah.
Like, yeah, like a lot of things are like you can achieve like pretty good depth with like you know 50% characterization. Like 50% characterization of Emma is still a compelling character. Oh.
Yeah, yeah. God, and just there's also this conversation between her and Ambassador Ming Yu
Hmm.
to talk about mutant immortality, and
Yeah.
he's just like, listen, like I get that, sure, maybe probably you can't bring everyone back, but
Hmm.
can you like add a select number of world leaders and important people to your list? Can you
Mhm.
just like make them a mutant,
Right.
and just like add them to the list? And she's like, we'll talk about it. But then she leans into specifically Genosha
Our
and
history of trauma, our history
the
of
the
genocide. Like,
16 million mutants killed within
yeah.
minutes,
Yeah.
that she was there for. Like
Yeah. Oh
it's
my
it
God.
so like she shows her tone
Yeah.
addresses the pain of living through that,
Yeah.
but it was one step away from what I wanted it to be, of her just being like, I was in the middle of that
Yeah.
massacre
Yeah.
until every single one of my brothers and sisters that died next to me are
Yeah.
brought back. Like
Yeah.
it's just, like nobody has, at least not that I've read to current memory, nobody has addressed the fact that she was physically there.
Right. That's a good point.
And I feel like this was the closest chance that we could have had to her just being like, I watched this happen.
Yeah.
The second
My God.
that rescue teams showed up to Genosha, I walked out of my classroom with a mutant child dead in my arms.
Yeah.
Like, you that's in universe, that was just a couple years ago.
Right.
You
Right.
don't move past that.
No. No,
Just
you really don't.
oh man, like I just,
Yeah.
the second I'm saying it now, the second an author openly addresses Emma's trauma from that survivor's
Yeah.
guilt or however it manifests,
Yeah.
that's when Emma's going to become one of my top 3.
Okay. All right.
That's when it's going to happen.
Got you.
Because until
Um,
then, Storm beats her out. Oh man. Okay, so that Emma's thing kind of bookends the issue,
yeah.
and then the meat, the middle of the issue is Cyclops. Well, I guess Cyclops telling Emma about Club Sinister, and Emma
Mm,
coming to the council about it.
right.
And Diamond Sinister seemingly being actually surprised.
By Club Sinister, just because not like club, because there's also Bar Sinister, like it is a bar. So I want to be clear. We're talking about Sinister with a
Dr.
club on his head,
Stasis.
aka
Yeah.
Dr. Stasis.
Yes. And uh we brought this up jokingly last episode.
Yeah.
But when once Sinister gets alone, once he runs away from the council and he gets back to his lab, he's like, okay, yeah, so there's one with a club. The obvious question is, where are the other two?
Right.
It's like the first thing he says, and he's just like, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Where's the heart
He's John
Sinister?
Savvy. Yep. Yep.
Where's
Yep.
the spade Sinister? Oh my gosh.
And then they confront him at the quiet council, and he's like, "I gotta get out of here," and he throws a Nightcrawler teleportation bomb. Like, did he increase the smell? He made him teleportation stinkier.
Did he
And Emma
make
says,
my
"We'll
power?
add it
Did
to
he
the
turn my
list."
power into a stink bomb?
And Emma says, "We'll add it to the list of his crimes."
Oh my god, dude. The just conceptually, the one other thing that stood out that really had me going was the reference Charles is talking about, that there was a human who took the mutant growth hormone and then killed himself,
Yeah, thinking that they might get resurrected.
that he could get resurrected as a mutant.
It's fucking tragic.
It's insanely tragic. It's so
But like, what a
easy
thing to
to
think
slip into
about
that
as
thought process.
right, and what a thing to consider when you're writing this. Like, what are some of the knock-on effects that might happen? Well, like,
Mm-hmm.
fuck, somebody would probably do this,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, and oh man, and just yeah, like MGH hasn't been a talking point in years.
Yeah.
and the fact that it's still out there, like it's like cocaine, like there's just drugs in the world, and
Right.
like it's not like the war on drugs anymore. But like coke is still around,
Right.
mgh is still
You just,
around, there are still users of mgh,
yeah.
and it's just, oh man, that's just crazy, that's so crazy. um
And so Sinister's
yeah.
trying to make his escape and he runs into Destiny. And as you remember, this title has been bookended by, it started out with conversations between Destiny and Sinister. We have to be on the same side, blah 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 blah. And and yeah, she's like, "Don't you want to know what's going on? Don't run from this." And he's like, "Not later."
Infuriating woman. Dude, the this game of chess going on between Sinister and Destiny is so
Oh,
much
so good.
fun. I'm loving it.
Yeah. And so he goes back to the Moira lab and he's like, "Maybe I'll get past Judgment Day this time."
Right?
The extent to which he knows what's coming is outrageous.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, okay. So as long as you're there
And the
with me,
fact that
cool.
he's playing off of what we know of what's coming based off of marketing materials.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So because that was the thing, it was like, is he because I was like, is he referring to Judgment Day just in general, or like his
No,
judgment coming, or is
AXE
he
Judgment
referring to
Day.
AXE Judgment Day? And you're just like, ah. And so because
Definitely AXE.
that's where I totally went. I was like,
Yeah.
wait, let me see if that's where Steve goes to
Oh yeah.
before I
I mean
truly like lean in.
it's yeah, it's capitalized in everything.
Um, and then so he has this like bookshelf full of jars that have different aspects of personality that he can like inject into
Mhm.
his body. And so he's like, computer, full personal, purge all personalities and do a clean install.
Yeah.
And so it like wipes him clean, and then he's just saying random ass words: basal, state, oper, alto, null, add, core, motive, actions, and then it adds in a few, and he speaks completely differently, has a completely different demeanor, and then it adds a few more, and then he's like a reset. He just did like a fucking like defrag.
Fresh install of your OS. Yeah, you just formatted your hard drive and reinstalled Windows.
It's a wonderful cocktail of Deadpool scrapings, 5 choice seasons of Drag Race, and a sample of Oscar Wilde.
It's
Of course,
it's a
Oscar Wilde was a mutant.
it's a pretty good, summary of Sinister characterization in general.
My gosh,
Drag Race
dude.
and Oscar Wilde. Yeah. So yeah, and then he gets kidnapped.
Right.
He returns, he faces the council, and then some weird teleporter thing scoops him up and he is gone.
And it's probably gonna get addressed in AXE.
Yep. And Emma delivers another great line. The problem with telepathy, you can make anyone believe whatever you want except yourself.
Wild.
New Mutants
Oh man.
28.
So we have 3 other issues, none of which are that big of a deal.
Yeah.
From my perspective. So yeah, New Mutants 28. It's a conclusion of this side mission.
This arc. Yeah, yeah.
The Queen is dead. Long live the Queen. Ileana's soul sword is malleable, apparently.
Well, yeah, she's fucking around trying to remanifest her soul sword and is unable to, and she's making a bunch of different soul weapons instead. Um,
Including a
sli-
soul Vespa with a tank. The tank cannon on the front. Something straight out of Crash Cars.
Yeah, she's got a soul slingshot, a soul meat cleaver, a soul cat of nine tails,
Soul
etc.
chakram and a soul lightsaber,
Hmm.
which is interesting because the last two issues have ended with her making a soul sword.
Right.
Well, she had a techno sword at the end
Yeah.
of 2 issues ago, and then didn't use it
Yeah.
against Belasco last issue.
Right.
And then
Right.
baby Ileana gave a little glowing acorn thing, and
Yeah.
she turned that into a soul scimitar.
Yeah.
And then we start this issue with her trying to forge a soul sword.
Yeah. It's a little inconsistent.
But whatever.
Yeah.
But the issue starts with, okay, let's give Madeline
Hmm.
let's finish this
This
transfer
contract
spell,
here.
this
Yeah.
contract.
Yeah.
And then they dive into that one more time of just like, this is a bad idea. And Madeline's like, shut up.
Yep.
This is what we're doing. And I can't make a move on Krakoa, but eventually I'm going to figure out some sort of loophole, and you guys can deal with me then.
Yeah.
And then they do another. They storm the castle to address Sim, and then Sim turns out he's working with another version of Ileana.
Yeah. So we've got future Ileana, we've got past Ileana, and this looks like alternate present Ileana. Um,
This is Ileana
Yeah.
who never left.
right. Yes, exactly.
Queen
And
Ileana.
she's terrifying. And she wields Sim's soul mace. And it turns out that is the shadowy figure from the start of this arc who we've been like who has the horns and is manipulating Sim, et cetera, et cetera. It wasn't Belasco. It wasn't Tyr. Um, that's fine.
Yeah. And she's
It would.
obsessed with The Art of War by Sun Tzu.
Oh yeah. Yikes.
Half of her lines are quotes from Art of War.
Mm-hmm.
All of her sentences that are longer than 5 words are Art of War quotes.
And so, yeah, we kind of get a summarized timeline here of Ileana's whole time in limbo. It's recursive and ridiculous, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, so they have it out with Queen Ileana, and
Madeline gets the drop.
yeah, Madeline gets the kill with a giant ass fucking scythe. Very terrifying.
Which
And
gives our Ileana a Sailor Moon magical girl transformation
Yeah.
scene. Like,
Into like golden
case-
dark child armor.
in case
essentially.
anyone's actually like
Yeah.
she turns into like stars and
It is
has
full 100% magical girl Sailor Moon. That is the only way to describe it.
pieces of her armor snap on, and she has her whole like flowing hair, and then she gets a golden X-Men costume.
Yeah.
Which we'll see if she has that in the next volume of X-Men.
Yeah, with her time on the team now. Yeah, it's nice to have a visual marker of her character progress. It's sort of like reincorporating all of her past and present and alternate selves, and then just absolutely fucks up Sim. And
Yeah.
and then she delivers a report that's like, hey, it's time to train the people of Krakoa in magic. And then she finally has it out with Colossus, her brother, over a cup of tea or coffee. It's coffee. And yeah, they basically, like all the things I was saying about the last issue, right? Of all of this like difficult history in their past of who they expected each other to be, and you know, the pain of like not having been there for one another, the pain of not being the person the other expects. But they get to a point where, and Magic saying like being angry is easy and comfortable for me, but what's beneath is so much hurt, and I'm tired of hurting. You failed me, I've failed too. Um, so let's start over. And he he's on the verge of tears, and he says, "There's nothing I wish for more." So I am so happy for this. I am, God, you know me in Colossus and just wanting the dude to catch a fucking break. And this is so good for him, and it's so good for her too. I'm here for it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
stoked. I don't know how much this will actually, you know, how much they'll stick with this, but I want I want more of this difficult reconciliation.
Yeah. Uh, Conceptually,
Yeah,
um, her mutant power are the stepping discs, right?
correct.
So I would argue that her connection to Limbo shouldn't mess with her mutant power.
So, oh yeah, so that's the interesting thing here, and it's kind of delivered offhand here um in her report, but so her stepping discs always worked in that to teleport you would go to anywhere, you would go through limbo. They
Right.
were like how Nightcrawler passes through the fart dimension. She passes through limbo, and so that led to a lot of like plot conveniences for all the New Mutants comics, where because time in limbo is so variable, you could kind of have a Liliana teleportation last as long as you wanted, or spit you out, you know, in unpredictable times and places, etc. And just a way to kind of introduce chaos into the story. And really, by very quickly after she was introduced, she was the main character and main plot driver of New Mutants, and the way the kind of her stepping discs and the chaos that ensued were kind of like one of the main things that created plots in that book. Anyway,
Okay.
yes.
Just checking notes on that one.
Hmm.
And then just like two other things get wrapped up in that Madeline is really leaning into her role as queen, just immediately
Yes.
killing anyone who shows any form of dissension.
Yeah, she is goblin queening all over the place.
Goblin with a Y.
Right.
And then we get to see that old man that was obsessed with helping Ileana. That
Yeah, at
was
the very
introduced in the
start of the
first
story
first
arc.
chapter.
Yeah.
Was saved by baby Ileana
Uh-huh.
and used the hairbrush to teleport and take the story and
Yeah,
have
so
it
so this
written by Goblin Ileana.
yeah, so the this kind of like story arc that we've this weird like storybook interludes that we've been having the whole time. It turns out that this is a book that Ilyana has been writing has been writing as a way of like, this is how as a story to her past self, so that she can uh, read it and then learn what it takes and how to like survive and overcome limbo. And so this guy does the plot contrivance bit of returning the book to her after it's already been written through time, returning it
Yeah.
to her younger self so that she can read and learn from it and gain the strength and inspiration to um rebel.
The self-contained time loop.
Yes.
Um, yeah. Anything else?
Nope. That is it. That's I've been saying it a few times, but that really is the end of um Vita Ayala's run on New Mutants, and stoked for them. Great run. Good stuff. Can't wait to read more.
Mm-hmm.
Knights of X #4.
Knights of X4. Uh, the one sentence version is they get to Mercator and see Mr. M.
Yeah, remember a couple issues ago when I was like, okay, issue twos are hard. You want to make a big splash and like introduce the concept and tell a self-contained story in issue one, and then issue two, you kind of have to go back and do all the groundwork to set up the larger plot. And it hasn't moved since then.
Yeah, I get. Yeah, okay. Things get solved quickly.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
Like it to the point where like the flow of the story, it doesn't feel like it's ramping up. It's just kind of like,
It feels like it happens between issues almost.
yeah, it's not great.
Yeah.
But I get my first that I can think of issue hanging out with Mr. M, which is fun.
Yes. Yep. So we've got Gambit sacrifice, frees Mad Jim Jaspers. He gets them out of, the immediate trouble with Arthur and saving Jaspers, and um uh then we go through a portal to Mercator, Mr. M's place, and it is terrifying. It is the Siege Perilous itself, basically.
Yeah, it's like I mean, it's basically a soul gem, conceptually.
Yes, yeah, it's absolutely, except with a stronger emphasis on like rebirth
Personal
and
fear and
rediscovery.
rebirth. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so everyone that hops into the Siege Perilous is presented with their biggest fear or a big fear. And
Almost like their biggest test. Like it is, this is the crucible by which you are judged.
right, but then shock and awe, all of the mutants, all of the X-Men Excalibur mutants are accustomed
Yeah.
to this, and they get through it real quick. If this story was told 20 years ago, this would be 15 issues
Right.
of them trying to get through their tests.
It's true. The only one of them who's actually been through the Siege Perilous before is Psylocke, is Betsy. She did not have a good time of it last time. That is how she ended up in Japan, captive of Matsuo Tsurayaba, and ended up in all of the body swap bullshit.
Well, okay. Yeah, she came out of it with flying colors because she had to fight the Britain Corps, which is easy. And then Rachel Ascani had like a test of the mind, and she got out incredibly quick.
Yeah.
Shatterstar was in a fight in a Coliseum against Spiral and Adam X for some reason, which he survived incredibly
I think
quickly.
that might have been Longshot, not Adam X, and
Oh.
it's just Mojoverse characters.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
So against his dad and Spiral, and
It does look like Adam X, but yeah.
it does. And it's the hair. I mean, it's the hat.
and the backwards hat. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
so
the hat.
fucking 90s. It's so extreme. Um, Richter
they-
sees Apocalypse.
Yeah. Bay's at
Megan
her
sees
wedding.
the wrong Brit. Yeah, Megan sees the wrong Brian.
Yeah.
What about Mordred? Mordred faces
Mordred
a
faces
vision
a
of
Big
Arthur.
ass daddy.
Yeah,
Big
and
daddy.
and is basically like, no, actually, we have to befriend one another, which is crazy.
which is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other one is the guy whose name I always forget, Kylan. It's him with his alternate universe Saturnine, and she gets killed. And they're like, "Hey, it's not real." He's
Yeah.
like, "I don't care. This is the
Yeah.
world that I want to live in." And
Uh-huh.
they're like, "Well, too bad. You have to leave." And so they pull him out, and they all survive the Siege Perilous tests within a page each. And Rachel and Betsy finally address their
Smoochify.
tension that they've had for the last 3 issues.
Yeah, it's really not a long. I mean, listen, they were both on a Claremont X-Men team at the same time, and everybody was horny as fuck for each other. Uh, so like, is there long simmering sexual tension between the two of them? Of course. Is it any more than any other random pairing between two X-Men characters from that era? No. But
Yeah.
if you want to go for it, go for it. I have no problems with it.
Um, and then Shogo. Shogo saw the death of Gambit, got upset, and ran away and flew to Mercator. And in flying to Mercator, showed the way for Merlin and the rest of the people to show up. And so now they're on their way, and that's the end of the issue.
Yep. And
And
so
yeah,
we're barreling towards a big climax here.
and again,
We know
though,
exactly
like,
what it is and what it looks like.
are they going to knock out Absalom here? Because if he doesn't want Merlin there, he could just reality warp him away. So
Right. Omega level reality warp.
yeah,
You really paint yourself into a corner with characters these powerful and this powerful. That's fine.
yep.
Um,
So we're coming up on 3 hours. So
oh fuck. Jesus.
we only have one issue left.
One issue. Okay, let's
Legion
pull
of X
those
number
through it.
3.
Yeah, and then if we split into two, we split into two. Record some bumpers or something.
Legion of X. I'm trying
Number
to think of
3.
anything like major that happens. There's interesting stuff.
Yeah, so we're getting the connection between some of these different plot arcs that have been kind of in the background, right? There's the plot arc with the fugitive god, the fugitive trickster god from Araco who has escaped to Krakoa. And then there is the plot arc with the skinjacker Switch. And these are revealed to basically be the same thing, that that the trickster god has taken up residence in Switch, that Switch is their like patron benefactor believer right now, and who knows what that means. But that means it might not be this Mother Righteous character.
Right.
Mother Righteous does sign, a deal for power with Banshee, who gets these crazy fucking power up, and has like a Ghost Rider head basically now, and who knows what the fuck or why, but
That'll be
we also
addressed in
have
the next issue.
Yeah, we also have, similar to Siege Perilous, we've got all the main characters going through an astral plane, sort of like stripping down of their desires and shames and subconscious. And Kurt is the first one. He's like, I have I'm not going anywhere. I'm quite at home with my unconscious mind. And then the next panel is just like 50 different scenes of him and Zen just screwing each other's brains out.
There's also one with Rogue that looks like
Is
Rogue.
that? Oh,
But I guess they're
I
brother
think
and
that's
sister, so maybe not. It's just that she's
that would
got
be
a white tuft.
yeah, I think that's just the coloring. I think it's just the lighting. I think they're
Okay.
all Zen. Yeah.
Because I didn't even remember that they were basically related until right now.
Right.
So
Yeah.
there's no way that's gonna happen.
I could see why
It's
you would
actual
think that.
step bro. It's
Yeah.
actual step
Maybe it's
bro.
maybe now that I look at it, is that other character Gene? Maybe is that other character, so sure.
Right. There's definitely
That
multiple
one might be
Zens.
Cerise, that one might be okay. There's a lot of fucking here.
Let's see, one, two,
Um,
three, four, five. There's 7 depictions of females, 3 of which are definitely Zen.
yeah.
Yeah, and Zen's like,
So anyway,
oh yeah.
but he's also undone by a bunch of Bamfs, who
Oh.
represent his insecurities, and that's cute.
Yeah, yeah. I'm actually a little surprised that they're bringing Bamfs back. I like Bamfs because
Yeah.
they're kind of fun little
I mean,
existences.
I don't think that's actually them being brought back. I think that's used as a reference, as these are like the little demons of his insecurity.
Yeah, I mean, as
Um,
long as they're on the astral plane, they're
exactly.
gonna keep on showing up. But yeah,
And yeah, so it turns out that Pixie is confronting this trickster god and gets covered in bird shit and cream pies, and gets saved by Juggernaut, who has to uh, and they make it to um, this place called the beach, uh, the place within the astral plane that is like the most connected to just pure thought, and like disconnected from the altar, and it's access to the full astral plane from the altar, and it's rendered in most people's perceptions as a stretch of tropical shoreline, like an actual beach.
mm-hmm.
So that's interesting. um
uh, I guess so. Pick the along the Pixie storyline.
yeah.
One, they trap Trickster God by pretending that Doctor Strange shows up to the altar.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I was like, but why? Since when did Doctor Strange come back? And then, literally, like two
Right.
pages later, it turns out that that was an illusion, and they were using that to trap Switch in this little like jar,
Yeah.
which was cool. And then Trickster God manifested as this giant deity, 2-horned thing,
Yeah. Kind of
and
looks like
says,
Loki
it's
still.
got Loki horns and
Yeah.
says, "You shall not pass." And Pixie's like, goes, "No offense, Boyo. The Gandalf impression needs some work. Ask
Oh
Magneto
yes.
when he's drunk. Honestly, it's uncanny." Like,
Ian McKellen jokes.
so
Played
cool.
by the same actor. Yeah.
But
Fantastic.
yeah,
And the only other thing, we're continuing on with this sort of like character arc of Juggernaut trying to find his place, trying to not feel like rejected by Charles, and prove that he has value to the world.
yeah. And then so they at the end, Nightcrawler and Zen are being attacked by these like whispers of like self doubt.
Yeah.
And Zen's whispers are failure, shame, warless, shame, and peacemaker.
Yeah. Because
And
when she's confronted with her fantasies, it's all just bloody, violent warfare, bloodshed, insanity.
but then the bamfs around Nightcrawler are God is dead, you know it,
Uh-huh.
liar, liar, liar. Oh, you merely dance on his corpse. It's like, jeez, like
Yeah.
from our perspective, not having a good frame of reference of Morocco, that is so much more worse than what Zen's going through.
Right?
Like a man
That
of
is
the faith.
some
Like
intense shit.
that is oh Man, yeah, I don't know. It's they're like getting lost in their self despair is interrupted by Banshee just screaming through the scene,
Yeah,
in the astral plane, and that's
with his
when we
weird new
see
power up.
this,
Yeah.
yeah, this Ghost Rider Banshee, trying to pretend like he can be a Black Bolt guy.
Uh-huh.
Like it literally ends with I think that's Banshee, like whispered.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we'll see.
We shall see.
The cover for issue 4 is telling, I think.
Oh yeah. We get a little snippet of it. Yeah. I
But
only get a little snippet of it on my
oh yeah,
stupid screen blare.
yeah.
Well,
Since,
anyway,
yeah.
do you have anything else for this episode? Gotten
I
through all the
am really
books.
excited to read AXE. So
Me too. Okay, yeah. So we should figure out what exactly we're reading. Are we reading both the main book and the companion, or just the main book?
so when I read these crossovers, I
Yeah.
usually dedicate 1 week to the crossover and then the next week to the side books.
Okay.
But if you, because the companion has, I think it's 9 issues of comics, whereas
Right.
the book itself also has another 9 issues.
Right.
So we could do both, if you would like. That'd be 18 issues to read for 2.5 hours.
That's kind of a
Which-
lot considering the
all-
pace that we usually go on.
Yeah, but it all focuses on one storyline as
That's
opposed
true.
to
A lot less jumping
6
around.
titles. I think it's doable
Yeah.
because
Okay. Let's give it a shot.
so and what you'll see is as we get to some of the side issues, they're going to be very inconsequential.
Okay. Sure.
To the point where even if they dedicate 3 issues to their side story, it's gonna be like this is another conceptual aspect of the outcome of the story. It's like okay, so it could
Sure.
they could be fast reads and fast reviews. So
Sure. And I'm guessing some, especially the tie-ins from titles that I don't read, I will be like, "Hey, what does this mean?" You'll be like, "It means this." I'll be like, "Okay."
exactly, yeah. So AXE Judgment Day is going to be Judgment Day 1 through 6, AXE Avengers, AXE X-Men, AXE Eternals, and then the material from Free Comic Book Day 2022.
Yep.
And then Judgment Day Companion is AXE Eve of Judgment, AXE Judgment Day Omega, AXE Death to the Mutants 1 through 3, AXE Star Fox, AXE Iron Fist, and Fantastic Four issues 47 and 48.
Okay. Interesting
think-
tie-ins there. I don't
Right, Iron
understand
Fist doesn't
why
make sense.
all of those characters. A Star Fox. I guess Star Fox. In
Star Fox is an Eternal, yeah.
Yeah.
Because Thanos is
Fantastic
involved.
Four?
Thanos has been involved with Kieran Gillen's Eternals, and it's just so interesting. I I cannot recommend Kieran Gillen's Eternals enough. It is so much fun,
I bet.
and yeah, that bleeds obviously straight into AXE. So I'm excited to finally get to see some of these payoffs. So
Hell yes.
yeah,
I'm stoked.
So both those books.
we
for next
got
week.
there. We did it.
We fucking got there, dude. Oh, I'm so
got
excited.
there.
I'm so excited. And honestly, it didn't take as long as I thought it was going to.
Yeah.
I was getting really sad. But we're there. We got
took a
there.
while. We did.
It did.
All right.
Well, then now that we're at 3:10, I'm just gonna put the outro music here. Not even
Seems
gonna
like
delay
reasonable.
it.
Nope.
And we're gonna run away.
All right.
And I'm gonna go to Disneyland.
Oh. What are you gonna do? You just won the championship. You're going to Disneyland.
Something
Cool,
like-
man. Enjoy.
Well, we're going to California
Enjoy
Adventure. We're going to
enjoy the
Disney
Disneys.
area. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna stop Audacity, and I will catch you
Okay.
later.
Yeah. Take care, man. Ciao.
Deuces,
And
and say bye to chat.
yeah. Oh, I will. Bye, chat.
I don't know who's
Okay.
actually here, but there you go.
I checked Twitch last week at the end to see if there are any comments, but I am in more of a rush now, so
There
I will.
there were some comments this time, actually.
Hell,
Yeah, they said I thought Insabanur was the first mutant. I was like, well,
yep.
yes and no.
Honestly, I like it a lot better when he is the first mutant.
Me too.
I but what can you do?
Yeah, what can you do? All right.
All right, man.
I'll see you
Take
next
care.
week. Deuces.
See you next week.
Recording stop.
Recording stopped. All right, guys. So as I said, no no stream tonight. So but we're gonna do Spider-Verse next week for comics. Okay. Thank you guys for being here. For everyone who is here, thank you all. Thank you for all the lurks, which is all you could do because I wasn't talking to chat. But I will see you guys on Wednesday. I think we're gonna build something. I don't know what yet. Maybe a sword. We'll see. All right. Take care, you guys. Bye.